I woke up with a splitting headache. The last thing I remembered was dying at my computer while grinding through 57 revision comments on a paper with only 4 weeks to finish. Now I was lying in some alley that smelled like straw and piss. I stood up and looked down at myself. Gone was my programmer's plaid shirt, replaced by rough linen clothes with a leather belt. I reached into my pocket and pulled out a small bag of coins instead of my phone. Somehow, information just flowed into my head. 9 silver coins, 15 copper coins. I also found a short sword at my waist. My mind told me it was a cheap, zero-rank piece of junk, something an apprentice blacksmith would be embarrassed by. When I focused on myself, I could see my own status. 0 rank, no special traits. I had some kind of system that let me inspect things. My stomach growled, so I headed out of the alley. I found myself in a lively evening market. Stone streets, wooden buildings, guards in leather armor leaning against walls. I checked one of the guards, also 0 rank. So ordinary people were all like me. Good. I needed to keep a low profile. The place was called Eagle Territory, and it didn't seem too bad. People weren't starving, the streets were clean enough. I spotted a tavern called the Roaring Griffin and went inside. Information always flows best in taverns. I bought the cheapest black wheat ale for 3 coppers and a black bread for 2. The bread nearly choked me. Tasted like sawdust, and the ale was basically horse piss, but I was starving so I managed. In the center of the tavern, a scruffy bard named Leafar was standing on a table telling dirty jokes about some famous figure called the Saint Gregory, founder of the Ethel Empire. According to Leafar's version, Gregory was just a horny teenager who once chased what he thought was a bust of milk made into a church confessional, only to find a 300-pound priest waiting inside. The priest locked the door and educated him so thoroughly that Gregory crawled out the next morning and couldn't sit down for a month. That, Leafar claimed, was the true origin of the empire's famous piety. The whole tavern roared with laughter, and through all those crude jokes, I actually picked up the basic history of this world. 1,000 years ago, demons from another dimension ran wild until a hero named Raphael united all the races to seal the demon gate. But at the crucial moment, his most trusted follower Balthazar stabbed him in the back. After Raphael died, the united empire broke apart. His remaining followers, including the Saint Gregory, split off due to disagreements and founded 3 empires: Ethel, Orion, and Valerian. So this was my situation. I was stuck in some fantasy world with a handful of coins, a garbage sword, and a system that let me read people's stats. Not exactly a great start, but at least I wasn't dead. Probably. From the bard's jokes, I pieced together more about this world. Beyond the 3 human empires in the center, dwarves lived to the northeast, elves to the south, green-skinned orcs to the southeast, and a loose alliance of beastfolk, mostly pig beastmen, to the west. Wolf and cat beastmen were common in slave markets. The far north was guarded by northern beastmen at the old Demon Gate battlefield. The power system here ran from rank 0 to rank 10. Ranks 1 through 3 were still mortal, but reaching rank 3 extended your lifespan to 120 years. Ranks 4 to 6 were transcendent, the dividing line between ordinary and extraordinary. 7 and 8 were one-man army territory. 9 and 10 only existed in legends. I looked at my own 0 rank status, then at the 0 rank guard, then smelled the horse piss ale still on my tongue, and finally accepted it. I had really transmigrated. At least Eagle Territory seemed peaceful. Nobody here looked like they were about to starve. For a 0 rank nobody like me, that was the best news possible. I finished my drink and stood up to leave. A drunk mercenary bumped into me and asked my name. I couldn't say Lin Kai. That would sound way too foreign. So I threw together some names I'd overheard in the tavern. Leo, I said, trying to sound calm. Leo Springer. He lost interest fast and stumbled away. But that brief exchange made me realize something huge. He had to ask my name. That meant nobody could see my status the way I could see theirs. I checked the bartender, checked another patron. I could read all their names, ranks, emotions, and traits. But they couldn't see mine. This system was mine alone. A real cheat ability. Before I could process that, the bard Leafar spotted me and called me out in front of the whole tavern. Suddenly everyone was staring at the new face. The crowd started chanting for me to tell a story. I was trapped. I took a deep breath and decided to go with what I knew best, a story from my old life. I started telling them about a prince, a holy knight from a frozen northern kingdom. I described the undead plague, the madness, the impossible choice of watching your own people turn into monsters while your mentor and your lover turned against you. To gain the power to save his people, the prince sailed to the far north, searching for a legendary cursed sword, a blade called Frostmourne. I told them how the prince believed this sword would give him the strength to end the plague. But the moment he drew it, he didn't save his kingdom, he sealed his own doom. I stopped right there. The tavern went dead silent. These people were used to dirty jokes and simple hero tales. They'd never heard anything like this, a tragedy about fate and betrayal where the hero destroys himself. Then what? What happened to the sword? Someone shouted. Did his people survive? I shook my head and pointed at my empty cup. Too thirsty to continue. Coins started raining onto my table. I collected 14 copper pieces before wrapping up the ending briefly. Not bad for a first night. Leafar clapped dramatically and called me talented, then complained I'd only told half the story. I told him I was thirsty. He laughed, turned out all his pockets, nothing but feathers and lint. Completely broke, as bards tend to be. But I'll give you something better than money, he said with a mysterious grin. Real knowledge. He dug through his ragged bag and slapped a stack of beat-up, half-falling-apart books onto the table. Leafar proudly showed me his treasures. Most of the books were garbage. One about a tavern waitress's adventures, one about northern beastmen, customs, with a half-naked beast girl on the cover, and one called Pig Beastman Girls Don't Dream. Basically, all dirty books. But the last one caught my eye. Introduction to Magic. Everyone in the tavern laughed at me. A scarred mercenary told me the books were all scams. Apparently, some blacksmith's son once bought a Frost Palm manual from Leafar for 50 coppers, stuck his hands in snow all night trying to comprehend winter's true meaning, and ended up with hands swollen like pig heads. Cost him another 50 coppers at the temple to get healed. Another mercenary nudged me and said I should pick the Pig Beastman Girl book instead. At least I could keep myself company tonight. Everyone laughed, but I wasn't listening. My heart was pounding. I used my appraisal ability on the magic book. It was real. A genuine beginner's magic guide containing rank 1 elemental spells. The binding was terrible, but the contents were authentic. I kept my face completely calm and picked the magic book. The whole tavern looked at me like I was an idiot. Leafar quickly stuffed his dirty books back into his bag before I could change my mind. I rented a room from the bartender's stone for 10 coppers. No troublemaking, no believing Leafar's nonsense, an extra charge if I brought a prostitute. Fair enough. Upstairs, I locked the door, lit the oil lamp, and opened the book. I could read the text perfectly, probably a perk of being a transmigrator. The first spell was Fireball. The instructions said to focus my spirit, feel the power in my soul, and call its name with my will. I closed my eyes and tried to concentrate. Nothing at first. Then I remembered how it felt when I used my appraisal ability. Not thinking, but seeing. I tried that instead, and I sensed a faint warmth inside me, something separate from my blood. Fireball, a bright, fist-sized fireball appeared floating above my palm. I almost panicked and threw it. I was inside a wooden building. I steadied myself and experimented, making it grow and shrink. The heat nearly singed my eyebrows when it got too big. Then a wave of dizziness hit me hard, and the fireball went out. But warmth rushed through my whole body, and when I checked my status, everything had changed. I was rank 1 now, a mage. I wanted to try again, but exhaustion crushed me like a tide. I collapsed onto the straw mattress and blacked out instantly. The next morning, I woke up to screaming outside. Leafar, you worthless bastard. You ate my food, used my service, and now you're running. I dragged myself to the window and looked down. A woman in a revealing silk nightgown, built like a fantasy pinup, was chasing Leafar down the street with a broken high-heeled shoe. Leafar was clutching his lute in one hand and holding up his pants with the other, dodging for his life. It's art, he screamed. How can you call it freeloading? It's artistic research. I'll show you research. Get back here. She was yelling about 30 coppers and 7 rounds in one night. Leafar apparently couldn't pay a single coin. I watched from above, speechless. 7 times in one night, and he was still only rank 0. Say what you want about the man. His stamina was more impressive than his storytelling. I closed the window and sighed. Whatever else Leafar was, That magic book was real. He was technically half my teacher now. I gritted my teeth and pulled out a whole silver coin from my pouch. Downstairs, the chase was still going. The woman, Lulu, was still screaming at Lifar. I stepped in, handed her the silver coin, and told her it was Lifar's payment for last night. She bit the coin to check it was real. Then her angry face bloomed into a smile instantly. She counted out 70 copper coins as change, groped my arm, and told me I could visit her anytime for a 20% discount. I pulled my arm back without a word. Lifar tried to hug me in gratitude. I stopped him with one finger on his forehead. I don't want the money back, I said. I want information. I'll buy you a cup of horse piss. We sat down with 2 Alash. I had 8 silver and 81 copper left. I asked him straight. How does someone go from rank 0 to rank 1? Asking for a friend, I added. He didn't buy that for a second, but he explained anyway. It was simple in theory. A warrior just needed to successfully use a rank 1 skill like War Cry or Shield. A mage needed to cast their first rank 1 spell. With proper teaching, even a dumb person could manage it in a year or so. Noble children with private tutors, magic books, and potions could do it in days. But common people couldn't even read, let alone train full-time. Then he suddenly got excited and grabbed my hand. Your friend. Have they reached rank 1 already? Every alarm in my head went off. I remembered his traits from my system, and the fact that he'd just spent the night with Lulu for 7 rounds. The way he grabbed my hand. Was this guy into men too? I yanked my hand away and slammed against the wall. I'm warning you. I'm not interested in art, I yelled, hands guarding my chest. He stared at me blankly for a second, then burst out laughing so hard he was pounding the table. Kid, what's in your head? I only love voluptuous art. He made an exaggerated hourglass shape with his hands. Then he paused and added thoughtfully, although I don't mind men either. Nice firm backsides. Want to give it a try? My face turned purple. I didn't want to reveal I was already rank 1, so I kept up the act and changed the subject. I threw out a saying from my old world to sound wise. 30 years the river flows east, 30 years it flows west. Don't look down on a poor young man. Lifar blinked and actually seemed impressed by the quote. Then he looked me up and down and grinned like a fox. With that pretty face, have you considered being a kept man for some noblewoman? You'd earn faster than telling stories. But then he got serious. He told me that once someone reaches rank 1, they should get certified at the Adventurers Guild. Since nobody can see your rank just by looking, you need an official badge as proof. And it wasn't just for show. The guild paid monthly stipends to certified adventurers. Cities ran these talent recruitment programs to make sure they had fighters available for wars or commissions. They even offered residency benefits. I nodded slowly. Badge, monthly pay, talent recruitment, residency perks. This was basically a fantasy world civil service system. I asked Lifar how to go from rank 1 to rank 2. He said it was simple but hard, just practice. Every time you cast a spell, your mana capacity grows a little. Fill it up, and you break through. Harder spells give more growth. Fireball might take 1 or 2,000 casts, but a trickier spell like Water Gun could get you there in 800. I asked why not just practice high-rank spells. He looked at me like I was stupid. You think your tiny mana pool can handle high-rank magic? I'd also like to spend 1 copper as 1 gold. Other people figure out when they've ranked up by feeling alone. One day the pool inside just feels bigger. But when I checked my own status secretly, I saw something beautiful. A progress bar. Rank 1 mage, 5 out of 1,000. While everyone else was guessing, I had exact numbers. This system was a perfectionist's dream. Lifar then demanded payment for the information, the rest of the Frostmourne story. I told him the prince became the Lich King. He loved it. He asked if the prince took the girl back as his bride. I told him the prince killed her father instead. Lifar slapped his knee with delight and said he'd polish my story into an epic, or maybe something dirtier, and sell it in the provincial capital, Griffin City. Before leaving, he gave me some useful advice. He told me to keep telling stories at the tavern for tip money. He said Eagle territory belonged to the Valerian Empire's northwest, run by a decent old baron named Rule, who had a son and a daughter. And he mentioned that because we were close to the western beastfolk lands, beast person slaves here were relatively cheap, especially cats and wolves. Then he walked off into the morning, humming a dirty song about Frostmourne piercing his burning heart. I took his advice about the Adventurers Guild and headed there. It was a solid 3-story stone building on the main road, much nicer than the tavern. Inside, counters lined the left wall, and a huge board covered in parchment quests filled the right. I registered as Leo Springer. When they asked my class, I almost said mage, but stopped myself. A homeless-looking guy in rough linen claiming to be a rank 1 mage on day 1? Way too suspicious. So I said, apprentice, which the receptionist translated to classless. She handed me an F-rank wooden tag. Registration cost 10 coppers. I asked about the monthly stipend. She finally looked up and stared at me like I was dreaming. The stipend was 3 silver per month, but only for certified rank 1 adventurers with a bronze badge. That was 300 coppers, enough for a month of room and board. Until then, F-rank meant F-rank jobs, delivering letters, finding lost cats, cleaning stables. So rank 1 wasn't just about power. It was basically this world's minimum qualification for a decent life. After leaving the guild, I explored the town. The market was lively, but prices were steep. A halfway decent iron sword cost 30 silver, way beyond my budget. Then I wandered to the west side of town, where everything changed. The streets turned muddy, the air stank, and wooden cages lined the road. This was the slave market. Pig beastmen sat hunched in cages, priced at 70 silver. Further in, I saw a rabbit beast folk with drooping ears, shivering. Nearby, wolf beastmen wore collars and glared defiantly. Then I spotted a cage by itself. Inside was a cat beast girl, curled up in the corner. She had amber eyes full of fear and numbness. My system showed her as rank 0, with unknown name, and her emotions read as pure terror and despair. I found my hand reaching for my coin pouch without thinking. A greasy slave merchant sidled up to me. Good eye, kid. Fresh catch from the west. Genuine cat beast girl. Only 200 silver. I nearly choked. 200 silver was a fortune for me. He said that was cheap for this area. Resell her in the east for 300. Then he gave me a disgusting wink about what she could do. At night, I muttered that I was just looking and fled. But walking away, I couldn't stop thinking. Real beastier girls actually existed here. In my old life, I'd watched plenty of fantasy anime. I made myself a promise right there. Once I had money, I'd buy. No, rescue one. As a maid. Purely noble intentions. For that dream, I had to start earning seriously. That evening, back at the Roaring Griffin, I was the only storyteller now that Lefar had left. I tried the tale of Gul'dan and the demon blood, but the mercenaries weren't impressed. More betrayal? I just got cheated on my wages today. I don't want to hear this crap. Give us something spicy, like Lefar used to. So I improvised. I told them about a powerful elf named Illidan and a female elf named Maiev who chased him for 10,000 years. Some people say she wasn't really a warden at all. She was actually his secret lover on the side. The tavern exploded with laughter. 20 copper coins hit my table. Without Lefar competing, dirty, secret stories were clearly the winning formula. Over the next 2 weeks, my life fell into a rhythm. During the day, I practiced spells in my room or snuck out to the woods. I could now cast several mini fireballs without passing out. I also learned 2 more rank 1 spells. Windblade, a small cutting gust that could slice through bushes, and Windbind, an air current that could trip someone up. My progress bar climbed slowly. Each cast gave me just 1 point. After 2 weeks, I was at 237 out of 1,000. Painfully slow. At night, I told stories. I turned every game plot and movie I remembered into exotic secrets and scandalous gossip. Frostmourne became a cursed divine sword. Jaina became a femme fatale. Arthas became a tragic swordsman. The tips covered my daily expenses, 10 copper for the room, 10 for 2 meals, but barely. I also spent those weeks observing everyone with my system. Almost all tavern regulars were rank 0. A few mercenaries were rank 1 with bronze badges. Once, a rank 2 caravan guard captain passed through. His presence was so intimidating I only told 2 tame stories that night and slipped away early. After the half-month, my status read, rank 1 mage, 237 out of 1,000. 3 spells, Fireball, Windblade, and Windbind. I figured enough time had passed. My talented friend could believably have broken through by now. Time to get certified at the guild and claim that 3 silver monthly stipend. But first, I needed a real job. I went to the quest board and skipped all the F-rank garbage. Find a cat for 5 coppers. Deliver a letter for 10. My eyes landed on an E-rank quest freshly pinned up, Goblin Extermination. Farmer Barry west of town had a sheep stolen last night. Estimated 3 to 5 goblins. Return the sheep corpse for 3 silver. Return the sheep alive for 5 silver. Base reward otherwise. Reward 3 silver. 300 coppers. I ripped the parchment off the board without hesitation. It was time for Eagle territory to meet its future archmage. I brought the goblin quest to the counter. The receptionist frowned. This was an E-rank mission requiring rank 1 certification, and I was registered as 0 rank. I told her I was here to get certified. She sent me to a small training room with a sandy floor. The board tester assumed I was a warrior or archer. When I said I was a mage, he snapped awake. So did everyone else in the room. Mages were rare. He told me not to waste the guild's time. So I skipped the talking, raised my palm, and cast Fireball. A stable, fist-sized ball of fire appeared above my hand, lighting up the entire room. The tester's eyes nearly popped out. He confirmed it was a standard rank 1 spell. 10 minutes later, I walked out with a shiny bronze badge on my chest. Back at the tavern, the regulars spotted it immediately. When did you become rank 1? The scarred mercenary Barney grabbed me and demanded answers. Was Lefar's book actually real? I made up a cover story. I said I bought the magic book just because it was thick. Good for wiping my backside since tree leaves were too rough. The whole tavern roared with laughter. Then I told them the real reason I could cast spells was that I'd met a mysterious old man in white robes in the forest before arriving. He was starving. I shared my bread, and in return he taught me magic for months. I barely managed my first fireball 2 weeks ago. Everyone bought it. A chance encounter with a master made way more sense than learned from a book overnight. Barney got serious and warned me that goblins were weak but cunning, and as a mage I should watch out for close combat. I thanked him, grabbed my usual meal, black bread and horse piss ale for 5 coppers, and headed out. I found Farmer Barry's place west of town near the forest edge. His fence was torn open and footprints were everywhere. He pointed me toward the forest, practically begging for help. I followed the tracks and soon heard bleeding. I pushed through the bushes and the scene almost made me vomit. The stolen sheep was tied to a tree and one goblin, a small, green, disgusting creature, was pressed against it from behind, drooling and grunting. The thing was violating the poor animal. 2 more goblins sat nearby resting. One wore an oversized iron helmet and carried a wooden shield. The other held a human-made longsword and was picking its teeth. My system showed all 3 as rank 0. I needed to kill the distracted one first. I aimed at the goblin busy with the sheep. Windblade, an invisible slash of wind cut through the air. The goblin's body split clean in half at the waist. Green blood sprayed everywhere, covering the sheep. It didn't even have time to scream. My progress ticked up to 240 out of 1,000. 2 goblins left. The other 2 goblins jumped up instantly. The sword-wielding one grabbed the shield goblin and shoved it in front as a meat shield. Smart bastard. I fired Windblade at the shield. It carved a deep gash, but didn't break through. Both goblins charged at me screaming, way faster than 0-rank creatures should move. I cast Wind Bind on the shield goblin's ankles. It tripped hard and face-planted. While it was down, I slashed the sword goblin's throat with another Windblade. The shield goblin got back up and rushed me again. I hit it with a fireball that exploded against the shield, burning its hands so badly it dropped the shield. I stepped forward to finish it off, but the little monster lunged at my throat with its fangs. Way too close for magic. Pure panic. I yanked out my garbage short sword, closed my eyes, and stabbed blindly. The blade went straight through its open mouth and out the back of its skull. I collapsed on the ground, heart pounding. An E-rank quest nearly killed me. After catching my breath, I looted the bodies. The sword and shield were junk, 0-rank trash. But then I picked up the oversized iron helmet one of them was wearing. My appraisal found something hidden inside the lining. A small oilcloth pouch containing 3 gold coins and a letter. 3 gold coins. That was 300 silver. The letter was from a woman named Leah to someone named Mafu. She wrote that her father demanded he buy a house in the provincial capital before she'd marry him. He was apparently a rank 2 warrior using crappy 0-rank equipment and eating black bread to save every coin for the bride price. The letter ended with a little heart drawing. I felt a tiny bit complicated about it. This Mafu guy had been grinding himself down with garbage gear to save up for some woman's ridiculous demands, and now goblins had his money. Poor bastard. But then again, 300 silver on a bride price when you could buy a slave for less. I pocketed the gold coins without guilt. He was probably dead anyway. I untied the terrified sheep and walked it back to the farm, humming happily. Farmer Barry nearly cried when he saw his sheep alive. He paid me 5 extra silver on top of the 3 silver guild reward. Back at the guild, the receptionist who'd looked at me like a fraud now looked at me like actual talent. My new total: 3 gold, 16 silver, 76 copper. Plus a helmet, a shield, and 2 swords. I finally looked like a real adventurer instead of a homeless nobody. At the tavern that evening, word had already spread about my fireball demonstration at the guild. I dropped the captured helmet, shield, and sword on the bar counter and ordered a drink. Now everyone believed me. Barney the scar-faced mercenary came over, impressed, asking for the real story about how I learned magic. Everyone threw more coins. I collected another 30 coppers for storytelling. Total assets: 3 gold, 16 silver, 106 copper. Not bad for someone who woke up in a piss-smelling alley 2 weeks ago. That evening I told the tavern my master's backstory. I said his name was Gandalf, a great white-robed sage. I met him on a broken bridge, where he kicked his shoe into the mud below and ordered me to fetch it. I climbed down, got covered in filth, brought it back, and he kicked it down again. 3 times. The 3rd time, the shoe was caked in mud and worse. Finally he stroked his beard, said something mysterious that roughly meant, "This young one can be taught," and rewarded my patience by teaching me fireball. The tavern died laughing. "Your fireball came from picking up shoes?" Someone asked if picking up shoes 10 times would get me to rank 2. In all the laughter, nobody questioned my story anymore. My cover was solid. The next morning, I went straight to the slave market with my 3+ gold coins. I told myself I needed to learn the local language and customs. Definitely not just because of the beast ears. The greasy merchant recognized me and lit up when he saw my bronze badge. I asked about the difference between wolf and cat beast folk. Wolf beast girls were strong and good for labor or gladiator fighting, but they had terrible tempers. He said one customer's wolf girl chose to starve herself to death rather than submit. Cat beast girls were timid and obedient, easier to handle. I asked about the metal collars. He explained the whole system. Each collar had a rank 1 magic rune. After a blood-binding ritual, the owner could set rules like no escaping or no attacking your master. Break a rule, and the collar would shock or even explode. But since it was only rank 1 magic, it could kill a 0-rank slave, seriously hurt a rank 1, lightly injure a rank 2, and barely tickle a rank 3 who could just rip it off. Then the merchant mentioned something more serious: the faith covenant. This was a rank 2 soul magic contract that required the other person to willingly hand over a piece of their soul. It was far more powerful and permanent than any collar. But it had a strict limitation. Due to some rule about soul impurity, a man could only bind with one person in his entire life. Nobles used it for political marriages to secure alliances. Some genuine couples used it as a wedding vow. Nobody would waste their one and only covenant on a slave, unless they actually loved her and planned to make her their wife. I filed all this away. The collar was a leash. The covenant was a ring. Very different tools for very different purposes. I played dumb and asked the merchant to explain the faith covenant's origins. He was happy to lecture me. 1,000 years ago, when the hero Raphael was dying from Balthazar's betrayal, he used his last power to curse the rules of faith power itself. This was the famous Balthazar's curse. Faith power came from the devotion of a lord's people. It was a shortcut to leveling up, much faster than grinding on your own. But the curse made it so anyone who collected faith power could never absorb it themselves. To get around this, the nobles invented the faith covenant. They discovered that male souls were naturally suited to be collectors of faith power, while female souls worked best as amplifiers. So a lord would collect faith through his people, then use the covenant to transfer it to his wife, who would amplify and channel it. That's how they bypassed the curse. Betrayal wasn't a concern because the covenant was bound to a soul fragment. If the woman betrayed the man, he could remotely detonate the fragment, destroying her faith power and seriously injuring her. And the soul impurity Rule meant one man could only ever sign one covenant. Try more and you'd go insane. The merchant kept insisting the covenant was a noble's game, not for someone like me. He pushed me toward the simple slave collar instead. But my mind was racing. My system organized everything neatly: progress bars, spell management, separate displays for traits and emotions. It was basically an operating system. What if my system could create separate folders for each soul fragment, avoiding the impurity conflict entirely? That would break the one covenant limit wide open. I couldn't test it yet. The faith covenant required rank 2 magic, and I was only rank 1. But I filed it away as my future core strategy. I also realized my current advantages were bigger than I'd thought. Other mages needed a second or two to chant a fireball. I could cast instantly with just a thought, silent casting. And while other mages ran dry after 7 or 8 fireballs a day, I could cast 20 to 30 times, though each one was slightly weaker. My experience grinding efficiency was several times higher than normal. I told the merchant I was looking for a translator to help me study ancient texts, since beastfolk languages were closest to the old tongue. He gave me a knowing look that said he absolutely did not believe me. I skipped the wolf beast girls, too aggressive, and if I eventually wanted to use the faith covenant on one, the slave collar might not hold a rank 2 wolf fighter. Too risky. I went to the cat beast girl cages. I pointed at the skinniest one, a black-eared, black-tailed girl who looked barely adult, flat-chested, and malnourished. My system showed her name was Mia, rank 0. Her traits included something that caught my attention, a hidden talent marker. The merchant said 180 silver. Cheap because she was too thin for hard labor. I casually asked if she had any siblings. The merchant's eyes lit up. A twin sister, actually. He pointed to the next cage, a white-furred cat girl who looked almost identical to Mia, just as skinny. Her name was Mira, also rank 0, and her traits showed a different but complementary hidden talent, plus a bond linking her to her twin. My heart was pounding. 2 sisters with hidden talents and a mutual bond? In game terms, this was pulling rare cards from the same pack. I made my decision. The collar was just a rank 1 leash, but these twins' traits were the real deal. If I treated them well, one sister's gratitude would reinforce the others. Their fear would naturally shift into loyalty toward me as their protector. And when I eventually reached rank 2 and could use the faith covenant, they'd agree willingly. I wasn't buying slaves. I was pre-installing premium upgrades for my future build. How much for both? I asked, keeping my voice casual. 340 silver, package deal, the merchant said. A rival slave dealer tried to talk me out of it, saying the twins were so starved they'd die the first day. He pushed a rabbit beast girl instead. My merchant panicked and dropped the price. 3 gold, 20 silver, final offer. I dumped my entire fortune onto my palm. 3 gold coins, some silver, a pile of coppers. This is everything I have. 3 gold, 17 silver, 6 copper. The merchant eyed my gold and my mage badge. Deal. 3 gold flat. Keep the change and buy them some food. I handed over the gold coins. Just like that, my treasure was gone. Down to 17 silver and 6 copper. Before leaving, I casually asked how the faith covenant actually worked. The merchant laughed but explained, once I reached rank 2, I just needed to concentrate my soul energy, recite a simple oath, and have the other person agree. The incantation was common knowledge, probably sold at any bookstore for cheap. I didn't take the twins right away. A broke mage dragging 2 cat-eared girls through town would scream, "Rob me." I needed a safe place first. I remembered seeing a rental sign in the commoner district. I found it, a small 1-story house, about 60 square meters, 2 rooms, run down but private. The landlord was a friendly old man named Hans whose sons had moved him to their new place. Rent was 2 silver 50 copper per month. I took it. Then I rushed back to the market, collected the twins and their collar control keys, and covered them in oversized black cloaks the merchant threw in as a gift. On the way home, I stopped for bread, 3 white loaves and 10 black ones, plus 2 straw mats, 2 thin blankets, and basic wooden dishes. 1 more silver gone. Total assets, 13 silver, 56 copper. Completely broke again. I pushed open the creaky door of our new home, locked it behind us, and finally exhaled. Mia and Mira pulled down their hoods. 1 pair of black ears, 1 pair of white, both trembling. They clung to each other and stared at the dusty, dark room in terror. I raised one finger and summoned a tiny flame, bean-sized, just enough to light the half-burned candle on the table. Warm light filled the room. I put the blankets by the door and set the bag of bread on the old wooden table. "Come eat," I said, pulling up a chair. Both girls flinched. They looked at each other. Then instead of sitting at the table, they dropped to their knees and pressed their foreheads to the cold floor at my feet. They didn't dare look up. I stared at them. "What are you doing?" Mia's voice came from the floor, barely a whisper through her tears. "Master, the slave merchant taught us. Slaves must kneel in the corner to eat. We can't look at you without permission." I rubbed my temples. What a messed up world. "Stop kneeling. Go sit at the table." They didn't move. They shook harder. I had to physically pull out the chairs and order them to sit. They perched on the very edge, bodies stiff, ready to drop to their knees again at any moment. I gave up trying to be gentle and started eating my white bread. First time I'd had anything besides black bread since arriving. It was actually decent. No sawdust taste, a little sweetness from the wheat. After 2 weeks of garbage food, it felt like a luxury dessert. Then I heard gulping. Both girls were staring at my lap, swallowing saliva. Their stomachs were louder than their obedience. "Why aren't you eating?" You haven't given us permission, master." I slammed 2 white loaves in front of them. Mia shook her head frantically. They weren't worthy of white bread. They'd eat black bread and my leftovers. I'd had enough. I pointed at their collars and raised my wrist to show the control bracelet. "I'm counting to 3. If you don't eat, I'll treat it as disobedience." Getting shocked hurts. That worked instantly. They grabbed the bread with trembling hands and ate in tiny, careful bites, terrified of dropping a single crumb. Once they calmed down, I explained the situation plainly. I'd originally planned to buy one for housework, but since they were sisters, I bought both so they wouldn't be separated. That meant I spent everything I had. Starting tomorrow, we'd all be eating black bread. But as long as I had food, they wouldn't go hungry. Their job was to clean the house and help me when needed. I told them not to try running. The collar would explode, but I wouldn't mistreat them for no reason either. They slid off their chairs and kowtowed, thanking me for not separating them, promising to do anything for just a meal. I told them to stop kneeling. New rule in my house. No random kneeling, sit down to eat. Just listen to instructions. After the meal, the mood improved slightly. I checked their traits secretly. The fear and despair tags had disappeared. Mia's now showed cautious gratitude. Myra's showed something like anxious hope mixed with dependence on her sister. I went out to the yard and practiced spells for an hour, fireballs and wind blades lighting up the small courtyard, while the twins cleaned the house and laid out the bedding. Late that night, I was about to sleep when someone knocked softly. "Master, are you asleep?" The door cracked open. Mia pulled Mira inside, and then both of them got on all fours and started meowing. Meow, mew. I nearly blasted them with a fireball out of pure shock. "What the hell are you doing? Do beast folk turn back into animals during full moons?" Mia trembled and explained through tears that the slave merchant told them I'd like this. I checked their traits. So that's what the merchant had trained them for. I crossed my arms and put on my most authoritative face. "Nonsense. Who told you to do this?" I looked them up and down with deliberate disdain. "I'm not interested in you two. Yet. You're too skinny." "Why yes, master." Mia looked like she'd been pardoned from execution and started kowtowing again. "Go to bed. And tomorrow, both of you are taking baths. You need to be clean." They scrambled out of my room like their lives depended on it. I locked the door, lay down on my straw mat, and somewhere in the night, I smiled in my sleep. The next morning I slept in until about 7. When I opened my door, both girls were already standing there waiting. Mia looked nervous as usual. Myra's traits showed something like sneaky contentment behind her innocent face. The little one was secretly a schemer. At least they weren't kneeling anymore. Progress. I heated water with a controlled fireball and soaked black bread into porridge for breakfast. While watching them eat, I decided I shouldn't leave both of them home together. Mia overthought everything and Mira was too naive. Better to split them up. One stays, one comes with me. I pointed at Mira and told her she'd stepped into the doorframe with her left foot that morning, which was bad luck in my household. Her punishment was filling the water tank and scrubbing every corner of the house. She looked confused but obeyed. Then I took me out shopping. First stop was the Adventurers Guild, where I grabbed a new E-rank quest. Clear out 5 goblins harassing travelers on the East Trade Road. Reward, 10 silver. Enough for half a month of black bread for 3. Next, the clothing store. Silk was way beyond my budget. Even a lacy-made outfit cost 2 silver, too flashy anyway. I bought 2 plain white dresses and a new set of rough clothes for myself. 3 silver. Then a large wooden tub for bathing. 50 coppers. Down to 10 silver and 6 copper. On the way back, Mia quietly begged me not to punish her sister. I told her it was never really a punishment. I just needed someone home to clean, and I had to bring one of them to try on clothes for sizing. I brought Mia specifically because she was the worrier. If I'd left her alone and taken Mira, she'd have spent all day terrified I was selling her sister. Her black ears shot straight up. Her traits shifted to something warm. She was genuinely touched that I'd thought about her feelings. Back home, Mira was sprawled flat on the floor like a melted cat, completely exhausted, but the water tank was full. She wasn't as scared of me anymore. I filled the new tub with water and heated it with a sustained fireball hovering above the surface. Both girls stared in amazement, then looked terrified, probably wondering if I was going to cook them. Get in and wash each other. Then put on the new clothes. Mia burst into tears. Myra's eyes went red too. Their traits showed deep gratitude. Nobody had ever given them hot water and clean clothes before. Stop crying. Hurry up before I have to scrub you myself. They squealed, grabbed the dresses, and ran into the other room. Half an hour later, they came out transformed. Clean white dresses, slightly too big, hanging loosely on their tiny frames. Without the grime, their faces were porcelain pale and delicate. They were identical twins, about 148 centimeters tall, distinguishable only by their ears. Mia's jet black, Myra's snow white. Both pairs still dripping water, twitching nervously. Their tails swished behind them. They were painfully thin, though. Wrists and ankles like sticks, collarbones jutting out. Long-term malnutrition. I glanced at the bathwater. It had turned into mud soup. Were you two rolling in a ditch before? They turned red to their necks. I noticed their hair was still soaking wet, so I improvised. Small fireball in one hand for heat, wind magic in the other for airflow. A makeshift hairdryer. They had short hair from the slave traders cutting it for convenience. I thought about letting them grow it into twin tails eventually. After a simple lunch, I got ready for work. I tossed the captured goblin weapons in front of them. 2 short swords, the copper-rimmed shield, and the iron helmet. Mira, you're stronger. Take the helmet and shield. Mia, take this sword. Mia gripped the hilt nervously. Master, do we have to fight? No, you're too weak for that. Your job is simple. Stay close to me. If anything gets near me, you don't fight it. You just block it. Be my shields. Both girls nodded firmly, clutching their gear. Yes, master. We'll protect you. And just like that, I had 2 freshly minted meat shields ready for my afternoon goblin hunt. That afternoon, the 3 of us headed to the East Trade Road. Myra's cat ears worked like radar dishes, swiveling and scanning for sounds. Within minutes, she pointed at the trees. Over there. Something's moving. I didn't hesitate. 3 silent wind blades in a fan pattern before anything even emerged. 4 goblins burst from the bushes. These ones were armed properly. 3 with wooden shields and short swords, and 1 carrying a rusty spear. I scanned their traits. 3 0 rank, and 1 rank 1 goblin captain. I nearly lost it. A rank 1 monster? This wasn't an E-rank quest. This was D rank at minimum, worth at least 50 silver. The guild's terrible intel could get people killed. While I was cursing in Chinese, the twins thought I was chanting some mysterious combat spell because my face looked furious. Mia's traits shifted to something like, willing to die for master. She pushed me backward and screamed for me to run while she covered my retreat. Seeing these 2 trembling girls trying to shield me with their tiny bodies, that actually warmed my heart. Relax, I told them, patting Mia's head. These green skins aren't enough to worry about. My advantage was speed. Other mages needed seconds to chant. I could cast instantly with just a thought, silent casting. Less power per shot, but I could fire non-stop like a machine gun. I'm not a mage, I grinned. I'm an ADC, a magic marksman. I sent the twins to handle the spear goblin while I dealt with the captain myself. I taunted it with a middle finger and a wiggle of my backside. The berserk mode captain, now red-eyed and raging, fell for it completely and chased me, abandoning its allies. I kited it perfectly, wind bind to slow it down, then a barrage of fireballs while running backward. First fireball hit the shield. Second scorched it black. Third shattered it completely. Fourth hit the captain square in the face. It still didn't die. I switched to wind blades. Its berserk toughened skin meant each cut only drew a wound, not a kill. But damage stacks. After 10 wind blades, the captain collapsed face first 3 meters in front of me, completely bled out. I checked my status, 300 out of 1,000. One fight gained me 31 experience points, way faster than practice drills. But the cost was brutal. Dizziness and exhaustion hit me like a truck. I looked back at the twins. They'd finished off the spear goblin together. Mia tripped it, Mira bashed it with the shield. Then they both stabbed it to death. Good teamwork. Then I blacked out. I woke up to crying. Both girls were shaking me, sobbing, begging me not to die. I told them it was just mana exhaustion. Then, feeling mischievous, I mumbled that I was a sleeping prince who needed a cat girl's kiss to recover. Mia turned bright red and leaned toward my cheek. But Mira got there first and kissed somewhere she'd apparently seen tiger beast folk do in their tribe's tents. I shot upright in shock. Where exactly did you just kiss? Mira tilted her head innocently. It seemed to work. You stood right up. Master. Mia was frozen, steaming from embarrassment. I gave up and sat back down, letting them massage my back while I recovered. Mira proudly reported their fight. She said the spear goblin was about as tough as a wild wolf. Cat beast folk were apparently natural rogues, archers, and fighters, not mages, which explained their decent combat instincts. Once my strength returned, we looted everything. 4 zero-rank swords, a spear, 2 usable shields. Then we found the goblin nest deeper in the woods, a broken cart with 6 goblin babies sleeping around a lizard horse tied to a tree. I dealt with them without hesitation. A few more days, and this would have become a whole new tribe. In a broken chest, I found the real prize. 1 gold coin, 37 silver, and a pile of coppers. Another fortune. I cut the ears off the 4 regular goblins, then hacked off the captain's head as proof. A rank 1 goblin head would make the guild rethink their pathetic E-rank classification. Let's go collect our reward, I said, dragging the lizard horse behind us as we headed back to town. I sent the twins home with the captured weapons and marched to the adventurers' guild with my best angry face. The goblin captain's severed head in one hand and the lizard horse reins in the other. I slammed the head on the counter. 10 silver? E-rank. You call a rank 1 berserk goblin captain an E-rank quest. The receptionist went pale. A manager rushed out with a professional smile and tried to calm me down. I told him exactly what I'd faced. A rank 1 captain with a berserk skill plus 4 minions. If I hadn't been fast, I'd be dead. They brought in the merchant who'd posted the quest. He was sweating and practically begging forgiveness. He'd run away when his caravan was attacked, only counted 4 or 5 goblins from a distance, and assumed they were all ordinary ones. I pointed out I'd also found 6 goblin babies at their camp. A few more days, and they'd have built a whole new colony near town. After some negotiating, I walked out with 70 silver, 10 from the original quest, 40 for the D-rank upgrade, and 20 as emotional damages from the merchant. The guild also fined the merchant 10 silver for bad intel. Then the receptionist hit me with taxes, 30% city tax and guild fees on my mission income, 2 silver total. I paid it while cursing every tax collector in this world and my old one. Total assets, 2 gold, 13 silver, 76 copper. I went shopping to celebrate. 10 white loaves, a cream cake. Really just sweet bread with cheap frosting, but still, a jar of jam, 3 fishing rods, and 2 matching black and white maid outfits for the twins plus a spare set of clothes for myself. Spent about 10 silver total. Back home, the house was spotless. When the twins saw the white bread and the cake, their eyes turned into stars. They ate every crumb of frosting off their fingers. Their trait tags now showed deep trust and affection. Loyalty was nearly maxed. I asked if they could read. Both shook their heads. That was a waste of their hidden talents. I told them I'd buy books and teach them myself. That night, I heated bathwater and soaked in the tub. 2 little heads peeked from the bedroom door, blushing, asking if I needed help. I let them scrub my back. Their 4 small hands worked gently with a wet cloth while I teased them about the meowing incident. Mia nearly dropped the rag. Mira pouted and called me mean. As for anything below the waist, I handled that myself. These 2 still had the underage trait in my system. I told myself to wait. at least until that tag disappeared. The next day, I declared a rest day. No quests. After a jam-and-bread lunch, I brought out the fishing rods. We're going fishing. The twins were thrilled, bouncing along in their new-made outfits. Thanks to yesterday's goblin head stunt, I was now a recognized mage in eagle territory. Nobody bothered us on the streets despite the attention two cute cat-eared maids attracted. At the river, Mira ran off to dig for worms while Mia followed happily. We sat in a row and cast our lines. I caught a fish almost immediately. Then another. The twins caught nothing. I started teasing them. Two cats who can't catch fish? Maybe you should do the meowing performance from the other night instead. That did it. Mira snapped. She threw down her rod, hiked up her maid's skirt, and jumped straight into the knee-deep river. She dove under and came up clutching a big wriggling fish in her bare hands. Caught one, she announced triumphantly, tossing it onto the bank. I was genuinely impressed. That evening we grilled fish over a campfire by the river. The twins ate with oil all over their faces, tails swishing happily behind them. Their traits showed pure contentment and trust. I smiled watching them. Finish up. Let's head home before dark. That night, just as I was falling asleep, Mia knocked on my door. She crept in, face burning red, knelt by my bed, and softly meowed. I laughed. I was joking earlier. You didn't have to actually do it. But when I checked her traits, I understood. All these good days had made her anxious. She was afraid it would end, that I'd get rid of them. The kindness itself was making her insecure. I pulled her to sit on the bed and rubbed her head. I paid good money for you too. You're mine now, and you're working for me for life. Why would I throw you away? Then I told her she'd broken the rules by sneaking into my room. So her punishment was letting me pet her ears properly. She turned bright red, but agreed. The moment I touched those fluffy black ears, her whole body trembled. Her tail went stiff, and her traits shifted to something I definitely shouldn't be seeing while she still had the underage tag. I forced myself to stop, pushed her off, told her to go to bed. She stumbled out of the room, looking dazed. I locked the door and dealt with the aftermath on my own. The next day, I sold the extra captured weapons for 40 silver, bringing my total to over 2 gold 53 silver. I bought a literacy textbook for 5 silver, 2 quality daggers, and 2 dozen throwing knives for 30 silver. The twins were too skinny for sword and shield combat, but cat beast folk were naturally agile. They were born for the rogue class. Afternoons became school time. Mia learned fast, true to her clever trait. Mira was actually more talented, but couldn't sit still. After she, accidentally, spilled ink for the 3rd time, I pulled her over my knee and spanked her. Not hard, just enough to make a point. Then I put Mia in charge of discipline. I also learned the last rank 1 spell from my book, Water Gun. A high-pressure water jet, similar power to Wine Blade, but different element. The next 2 weeks fell into routine. Morning guild checks turned up nothing exciting. I took the twins out to clear 2 small goblin groups. Easy fights, 15 silver total. Collected my 3 silver monthly stipend. Spent afternoons teaching the girls to read and training them with daggers and throwing knives. They were basically literate after 2 weeks, and their knife work looked decent, though still rank 0 without a proper skill book. Evenings I'd sometimes visit the tavern and tell stories for pocket change. All my real energy went into grinding experience. Progress, 739 out of 1,000. Over 400 points in half a month, incredible speed. But I hit a wall. I'd mastered every spell in Introduction to Magic. Without a rank 2 skill book, breaking through would be pointless. Where was I supposed to find advanced spells? Then, that very evening at the tavern, a mercenary burst in with big news. Huge goblin nest discovered in Blackwind Forest, southeast of town. Over 100 goblins. Definitely rank 2 captains inside. The whole tavern erupted. That explained all the scattered goblin groups lately. They were overflow from a massive colony. Then the real bombshell. The Baron's son, Knight Rupert, a rank 2 warrior, was personally leading an extermination squad. He needed 5 extra mercenaries, rank 1 or above. Pay 2 gold coins. And he specifically wanted priests or mages. Every eye in the tavern turned to the only mage in Eagle territory, me, sitting in my corner with a drink. I set down my cup and licked my lips. Well, looks like work just found me. I signed up for the mission the next morning. Rupert came to the guild personally to check me out, a young knight in his mid-20s, golden hair, blue eyes, rank 2 warrior. His traits showed he was practical and straightforward. He asked for a demonstration. I fired an instant fireball at a training dummy. He wasn't impressed by the power. He was impressed by the speed. No chanting, no delay. Not bad. 3 days, 7 a.m., front gate. I spent those 3 days gearing up. I decided to bring the twins. It was time to build a proper team. I bought 3 sets of hardened leather armor for 75 silver, 2 pigskin helmets for 30, and some comfortable underlayers for 2. My funds dropped to 1 gold 46 silver. This mission had better pay off. On departure day, the other mercenaries stared at me like I was insane. I was wearing leather armor over my mage clothes, an iron helmet, 2 swords strapped to my back, another on my leg, and a shield. Behind me stood Mia and Mira in undersized armor and ridiculous helmets, cat ears poking out, daggers at their waists. We looked like a traveling circus. A young mage named Ron immediately started mocking me. He wore fancy robes, carried a proper staff with a glass orb, and sneered at my peasant outfit. He called my spells weak without a staff and laughed at me for bringing little cat girls to a picnic. I checked his traits. He was rank 1, and his tags screamed, sycophant, with a crush on the Baron's daughter. I didn't bother arguing. 3 young priests from the local church defended me, reminding Ron about my goblin captain kill. I befriended them immediately and fed them a fake proverb. Wine and meat pass through the gut, but the goddess stays in the heart. They were so impressed they looked at me like I was a philosopher. Then the main force arrived. Rupert rode in with about 100 regular guards and 10 rank 1 squad leaders. Beside him was his sister Jessica, a rank 1 mage around 16, wearing a robe with armor over it, complaining that her helmet was ugly. So Ron's crush didn't even know he existed. But the real discovery made my heart soar. Riding silently behind them in full-plate armor was a knight named Aaliyah, their mother. Rank 4, an eagle knight. Her traits showed she was bored and just here to babysit her children. This wasn't a military operation. This was a family outing with a rank 4 escort. My 2 gold coins were absolutely guaranteed. I immediately decided to stick close to Jessica for the rest of the mission. Where the daughter went, the rank 4 mom would follow. Rupert organized the march. The 100 guards formed the bulk. We mercenaries stayed in the center. The 3 mages, Jessica, Ron, and me, would handle area attacks against goblin clusters, and the priests would handle healing. The advance went smoothly at first. Goblin sentries were sloppy. Some were literally sleeping in trees. The guard squad's rogues silently eliminated most of them. I noticed the lead rogue was rank 1 with useful traits. I started wondering how much a Rogue Basics skill book would cost, perfect for the twins class upgrade. Then everything went wrong at once. A guard stepped on a hidden spike trap. His scream triggered the alarm. The entire goblin nest woke up. Hundreds of shrieks echoed through black wind forest, getting louder and closer. Rupert drew his sword calmly. Figured it wouldn't be that easy. He pointed to a nearby hilltop. All forces rally. Prepare for contact. Then he turned to us 3 mages. Get to that hill. Prepare for the first wave of spell bombardment. We 3 mages scrambled up the hilltop with guards escorting us. Ron kept trying to sidle up to Jessica. I was doing the same thing, but for completely different reasons. I needed to stay glued to the Baron's daughter because her rank 4 mother would protect whatever was near her. Jessica was annoyed by both of us. Ron glared at me like a rival. I ignored him completely and focused on scanning the goblin camp below. The camp was huge, over 100 goblins. In the center, a big one in crude armor was screaming orders with a giant sword. Rank 2 warrior. The boss everyone expected. But then I noticed a small figure lurking in the shadows beside the chief, holding a staff. Rank 3. A goblin shaman. Sorcerer class. My heart dropped. 3 was the dividing line between mortal and transcendent, the level where you got your first divine skill and class specialization. What the hell was a rank 3 caster doing in a backwater goblin nest? I glanced at Jessica, then at the Iron Can, riding behind us. Her mother, the rank 4 Eagle Knight. For versus 3, we should be fine. But this was going to be messier than anyone planned. My strategy solidified. Stick to Jessica like glue. Not because of Ron-style simping, but because the rank 4 mother was the real insurance policy. I needed to perform well in front of her. This was basically a job interview with the most powerful person in Eagle territory. Rupert shouted from below, "Mages, fire at will." Create chaos. Ron started chanting dramatically, his staff glowing. Jessica began her own incantation. Both needed time to charge up. I raised both hands and opened fire immediately. Fireball. 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 3 instant cast fireballs in a triangle pattern slammed into the densest goblin cluster before Ron or Jessica had finished a single spell. Then I fired 3 more before their charged shots even launched. 8 total explosions ripped through the camp. Tents caught fire. Goblins scattered screaming. Ron and Jessica stared at me with their mouths open. My rapid fire drew the chief's attention. Goblin archers shot back, but the range was too far and arrows landed harmlessly in the dirt. I answered with another volley of 8 fireballs. Then the rank 3 shaman raised its staff. A massive, terrifying fireball, far bigger than anything I could produce, began forming at the tip. Ron saw it and his voice cracked. That's a rank 2 flame burst. The chief is a rank 2 mage. He was wrong. The caster was the little shaman beside the chief, not the chief itself. But I didn't bother correcting him. He was already screaming and scrambling down the hill on all 4s, abandoning us. Jessica froze in shock. Her chanting stopped. This was my moment. My job interview. Mia? Mira. Run left. I launched myself at Jessica in a full body tackle, knocking her off the impact zone. I twisted midair to land underneath her as a human cushion. We hit the ground hard. She was dazed, I was bruised, but we were clear. The giant fireball screamed toward the hilltop. A piercing eagle cry split the sky. A massive eagle with a wingspan over 10 meters dove from above, an invisible shield expanding before it. The flame burst exploded against the barrier with a deafening blast. The eagle didn't even flinch. Lady Aaliyah, the Iron Can, launched off her horse, soared through the air, and landed on the eagle's back in one fluid motion. She glanced back at Jessica and me, gave a satisfied nod, then turned her gaze toward the goblin chief and the shaman. It's the giant eagle, the Eagle Knight. Lady Aaliyah's eagle. Long live Eagle territory. The guards erupted in cheers. Morale skyrocketed. Every soldier charged the remaining goblins with renewed fury. Jessica climbed off me, face red. What was that for? Saving you, princess. I groaned, brushing dirt off my armor. Up in the sky, Aaliyah glanced down at her unharmed daughter, then at me, the weird mage in ridiculous armor who'd just shielded her child. She gave a small nod. Her traits shifted to something like mild approval. But she didn't intervene further. She'd promised her son this was his show unless things got truly dangerous. From the hilltop, I watched the battle unfold below. Everyone except me thought they were facing a rank 2 warrior chief and at most a rank 2 caster. But I knew the shaman was rank 3. Rupert was charging in with 4 rank 1 knights against a threat way beyond what they expected. Rupert sent his 4 knights to handle the mage, while he took the chief one-on-one. As a wealthy noble's son, his gear was top tier. He activated rank 2 combat skills, shattered the chief's shield in one blow, and after a few exchanges, drove his sword through the chief's throat. Clean kill. Got him. Rupert flicked the blood off his blade and turned to help his knights finish the shaman. That's when everything went wrong. The shaman, who'd been deliberately holding back this whole time, just throwing weak fireballs and letting small goblins die as distractions, finally revealed its real power. It raised its staff and activated a rank 3 divine skill, puppet control. The dead chief's corpse lurched back to life. Its eyes snapped open, glowing red. Its power surged beyond what it had alive. It raised its massive broken sword and swung it at Rupert's completely exposed back. Aaliyah saw it from the sky. Her eagle screamed and dove, but she was too far away. Rupert sensed the wind behind him and tried to turn, but he was too slow. I'd been watching that shaman the entire time. The second its casting gesture changed, I'd already started aiming. My spell launched before anyone else even processed what was happening. Windbind. I poured every drop of concentration I had into it. A single rank 1 spell against a rank 3 puppet shouldn't do anything meaningful. But the wind rope caught the puppet's sword arm and slowed it. Just a fraction of a second. Just enough. That tiny delay was all Aaliyah needed. Her eagle dove at impossible speed. She didn't even draw her sword. The eagle's wind-shielded talons caught the descending blade centimeters from Rupert's skull, snapping the sword in half and ripping the puppet's shoulder apart. Without stopping, the eagle pulled into a sharp U-turn and dove again. The shaman was still frozen in shock that a rank 1 spell had disrupted its divine skill. Aaliyah's sword came down from the sky and punched straight through the top of the shaman's skull. Silence. With both leaders dead, every remaining goblin broke and ran in all directions. Rupert, drenched in cold sweat, shaken but alive, screamed at his captain to chase down every last one. After the battle, I walked down with the twins and Jessica toward the center of the ruined camp. Aaliyah had already dismounted her eagle and was giving Rupert the scolding of his life. How many times have I told you? Don't be reckless. Watch your back. If I hadn't been here, and your wedding is coming up, what if you'd been bedridden for months? I'm still waiting for grandchildren. Rupert stood there red-faced like a scolded child. Then Aaliyah turned on Jessica too. Classic family moment. I stood at attention with my most innocent face. Aaliyah glanced at me and smiled warmly. Her traits were cycling rapidly. Something about approving of my character, finding me useful, and then suddenly jumping to thoughts about her children's futures. I started sweating. Ma'am, please slow down with those thoughts. I excused myself to search the main tent for loot. Inside was a large chest, half full of jewels, at least 40 or 50 gold coins, hundreds of silver, and countless coppers. I moved fast, grabbed 2 handfuls of gold coins and passed them to Mia and Mira. Hide these. Stuffed 2 more handfuls into my own clothes. Then crammed another handful into the secret lining of that dead soldier's helmet I'd been wearing since my first goblin fight. My personal safe. Roughly 20+ gold coins skimmed off the top. Then I closed the chest like nothing happened. I also found a set of human-made iron chainmail and a steel longsword gleaming with cold light. Excellent gear. I had the twins carry out the chest while I hauled the armor and sword. Outside, Aaliyah had finished her lecture. I switched to my most honest smile. Lady Aaliyah, you must be Jessica's mother, though I'd have guessed her older sister. You look incredible. She actually laughed at that. I pushed the chest forward and declared I'd brought everything out untouched, as per contract, for Rupert to distribute. Aaliyah smirked. The way your eyes lit up in there, I half expected you to take the whole chest. Me? Never. I waved my hands frantically. I'm just a poor man who likes counting money, even when it's not mine. Then I pointed at the chainmail with puppy eyes. Lady Aaliyah, could I maybe buy this armor? Deduct it from my 2 gold payment? I'm a coward who's terrified of dying. Rupert, still embarrassed from being saved and scolded, waved his hand impatiently. Just take it. Consider it a bonus for saving my sister. Jessica, also freshly scolded, pouted at me. You don't look like a mage at all. More like a hedgehog. Aaliyah studied me with a knowing smile. She definitely noticed the twins' nervous faces and shifty eyes. She probably guessed I'd pocketed something. But I genuinely saved both her children today, showed real talent and quick thinking, and had more street smarts than either of her sheltered kids. She offered the steel longsword as a personal thank you for saving Rupert. The chest contents would be public, counted, and distributed by merit. I thanked her so enthusiastically I almost bowed. During cleanup, I kept up my money-obsessed scavenger persona, running around with the twins collecting junk from the battlefield. But I didn't pocket anything else. The real haul was already secured. Back at the city gates, Rupert announced the results. 2 dead, 5 seriously wounded, 17 lightly wounded. A major victory. Dead soldiers' families would get 2 gold in compensation, their sons enrolled in castle training, their daughters given dowries. Everyone else got bonuses. The soldiers cheered. I watched from the side with the twins and nodded. Rupert was reckless, but he knew how to take care of his people. A decent future lord. Eagle territory really isn't bad, is it? A familiar, scruffy voice came from behind me. I turned around and froze. Leaning against the city wall with his loot on his back and that messy goatee, Leafar. Gone for over a month, and now grinning at me like he'd never left. I sent the twins home with the new chainmail and steel sword, then took Leafar to the tavern. He immediately started commenting on Mia and Myra's figures. A bit flat, aren't they? I told him I appreciated all women equally, regardless of size. We sat in a quiet corner. I offered to buy him wine since I had money now, but he refused. Black wheat ale has the taste of real life. Wine is for noble women. He suggested I spend my money on women's bellies instead, buying more slaves. Then, without warning, he dropped his joking tone completely. Kid, you're a transmigrator, right? I nearly choked. Beer almost shot out my nose. A chill ran down my spine. I don't know what you're talking about. Relax. He waved his hand casually. You're not the first. He explained that among bards and experienced mercenaries, transmigrators weren't exactly a secret. Every few decades, a soul or two would fall through world rifts into this continent. Of course, the ones people heard about were the survivors. Plenty probably landed in Beastman territory and got eaten, or dropped into elf forests and got shot full of arrows. To lighten the mood, he told me where rabbit beast folk came from. Hundreds of years ago, there were no rabbit beast people. Then a transmigrator showed up, called himself something like Sange or Sango. The guy was genuinely talented, reached rank 7 as an assassin. But he had a very strange obsession. He kept going into forests to find magical rabbits. Not beast folk, just regular electric magic rabbits. And he'd hug them crying, "Come back to life, my love," and then he'd mate with them. Somehow, impossibly, he actually produced a new species. He eventually died over some petty grudge, but rabbit beast folk survived as a race. Every bard on the continent knew this story. I wiped the sweat off my forehead. A transmigrator who broke the species barrier. This world was insane. But I relaxed a little. Leafar was still rank 0. If he'd wanted to harm me, he could have done it when I first arrived with nothing. He had no reason to wait until now. He told me he didn't care whether I admitted it or not. Bards made their living from information, and transmigrators always brought strange names and strange stories, like my Gandalf and Frostmourne. That was their meal ticket. He mentioned an old bard friend in the East who'd met a transmigrator 30 years ago. That one called himself Zichuan Xiao and spent years telling an elaborate story about building a great empire, with his sworn brothers serving as his general and inspector. The bard made good money from those tales, then spent it all on women, naturally. Eventually, Zichuan Xiao finished his story and disappeared. Probably died. Definitely a liar, Leafar concluded. If he was really that powerful, why was he still an ordinary person? I said nothing, just drank my beer. But inside, I felt a strange mix of relief and sadness. So transmigrators had come before me, lived their lives here, told their stories, and vanished. Some created entire races. Some just told tales until they died. At least now I knew, my secret wasn't as dangerous as I'd feared. It was just another piece of gossip for bards. Your stories have more potential than his, Leafar said, eyes gleaming. Come on, tell me more about Frostmourne. I didn't admit anything about being a transmigrator. I told you. I read it in a book. He didn't push it. So I spent the rest of the afternoon telling him the full Warcraft storyline. Arthas, Jaina, Uther, Illidan, all of it in detail. He was completely hooked, gasping and slapping the table until nightfall. As payment, he offered me another batch of books from his bag. The titles were wild. 3 Reversals Hypothesis, by some guy from a sect, Buddha's Fury Fire Lotus, with an exotic fire collection guide, 100 Days to Master Archery, a warrior's self-cultivation, and one about elf girl secrets that. He snatched back immediately. Haven't finished reading that one. I used appraisal on them all. The first 2 sounded amazing but were garbage. One was a drunk's ramblings, the other was just doodles with an arson guide. The archery and warrior books were legitimate basic training manuals. I picked A Warrior's Self-Cultivation. My whole team was fragile. Me as a mage, the twins training as rogues. Learning some warrior fundamentals for close combat survival made sense. Leafar was disappointed I didn't choose the flashy ones. I told him I was just a rank 1 mage who needed practical skills, not legendary techniques that would probably cripple me. Then I asked about the Baron's family. Aaliyah was rank 4. So surely the Baron was rank 5? Leafar laughed. The Baron? He's only rank 3. He married up? I blurted. Leafar explained that this was actually normal among nobles. Because of the faith covenant system, men collected faith power but couldn't use it themselves, so they transferred everything to their wives. The women did the fighting while the men managed things from behind. Most battlefields were full of powerful noble women. But the real secret of the covenant was something the slave merchant hadn't mentioned: natural affinity. Once a woman accepted the soul fragment through the covenant, she developed an irresistible sense of attachment and dependence toward the man. His commands would feel pleasant. His presence would feel safe. A woman who naturally loved her husband would never even think about betrayal. And if she somehow did, the explosion failsafe would destroy her power. Even if the man died, the Covenant would put her power into hibernation. She couldn't level up anymore unless the family's next male collector, usually her son, renewed the contract. She was permanently bound to that bloodline. Lifar said Eagle territory was an exception. Baron Rule and Lady Aaliyah had been wartime comrades in an Eagle Knight regiment. They married for love, not politics. Aaliyah willingly signed the covenant as a wedding vow, and Rule channeled all the territory's faith power to push her to rank 4. But their low taxes and kind governance made other nobles look down on them as country bumpkins. With a rank 4 wife and rank 3 husband, they could have earned a higher noble title if they'd been more ruthless. I asked how long Lifar was staying. He started counting on his fingers. Need to visit Lulu, then Lala, then. I cut him off and handed him 3 gold coins. He'd helped me more than he probably realized, and I owed him for that magic book regardless of whether he'd meant to help. He pocketed the gold happily, then climbed onto a table and launched into his new performance, a heavily modified, dirty joke-filled version of The Rise of the Lich King. I shook my head, paid my tab, and slipped out quietly. I came home to find the twins had cleaned everything spotless and polished the new chainmail and sword. They rushed to greet me, tails swishing. I checked their traits. The underage tag was finally gone from both of them. It had actually disappeared a couple days ago, but I'd been too busy preparing for the goblin raid to celebrate. Over the past 2 weeks, their lives had improved dramatically. White bread for breakfast, white bread with jam for lunch, black bread for dinner, just to use up stock. For girls who'd been eating worse than black bread slop in slave cages, this was paradise. They'd put on some weight, their skin had color again, and they were starting to look healthy. I opened my arms and hugged them both, lifting them up. Mira just dangled her legs awkwardly. Mia turned red to her ear tips. We'd mostly stuck to head pats until now. Then came the counting. I pulled gold from the helmet lining, my pockets, and the twins' hidden stashes. Even after giving Lifar 3 gold, we had 19 gold coins from the raid. Total assets, 20 gold, 53 silver, 76 copper. The twins stared at the pile of gold with their mouths open. Mira whispered, "How many white breads is that? Can I have 2 with jam?" Mia bonked her head. "That's Master's money. We're also Master's property." I told Mira she could eat as many breads as she wanted tonight, black, white, with all the jam she could handle. Her face lit up like the sun. Then I turned to Mia and asked what she wanted as a reward. "Nothing," she said quietly. "Just staying by your side is enough?" I teased her. "Really?" Because I was thinking of buying a few more sisters for the team. Her ears shot straight up. Her traits instantly shifted to jealousy and panic. I laughed and told her I was joking, that I'd never abandon them even if I got more people. Then I leaned down and kissed her on the lips. She completely froze. Her traits exploded into a storm of emotions. Happiness, shock, her first kiss. Mira watched from the side with a curious head tilt, like she was studying something fascinating. Dinner was awkward but warm. Mira shamelessly ate 3 white breads with half a jar of jam until her belly was round as a ball. Mia scolded her quietly. Late that night, my door creaked open. 2 small figures in blankets crept in, meowing softly. Mia was probably overthinking everything again after the kiss and the teasing about new sisters, so she dragged Mira along for courage. I pulled them both into my arms. Their body temperature ran warmer than humans. In the quiet darkness, that warmth was unmistakable. We went further than before. Afterward, I held 2 exhausted, limp cat girls and grinned. "Now that you've come to me, there's no going back. You two are my maids for life." "Thank you, Master," they murmured weakly. "Go to sleep." The next morning I woke up with 2 cat girls curled against me like real cats, pretending to be asleep. Their eyelids were twitching, and their breathing was too perfect. I called them out on it, and they bolted upright, faces burning, frantically straightening their maid outfits. After breakfast, I took them out for a big shopping day. First stop, the guild. I collected my 2 gold payment for the goblin mission. The receptionist was practically fawning over me now. She also mentioned that Knight Rupert wanted me to visit the military barracks within 3 days. Probably a follow-up from the battle. I'd made a good impression on the family. Total assets, 22 gold, 53 silver, 76 copper. Mia quietly asked if we were going to buy sisters. I teased her a bit, then explained I did plan to expand the team eventually, but I wanted to train them both to rank 1 first. Mia would be the senior member, in charge of any newcomers. Her ears perked right up at that. In beastfolk culture, a strong leader having multiple followers was normal. She just needed to know she wouldn't be replaced. Myra's reaction was different. Her traits showed she was already scheming about how to be the fun aunt to future members. That girl was becoming a little gremlin. No saving her. With real money to spend, I went all out. 2 silk-made outfits, 60 silver, pure luxury in this medieval world. 2 soft wool blankets to replace the straw mats, 8 silver. I asked about silk stockings, but the shopkeeper had never heard of them. Only thick cloth ones existed in this small town. The sheer kind would require a trip to Griffin City, the provincial capital. Added that to my future plans. Then the market. 3 cakes, 10 white breads, 3 jars of the best jam, 2 crates of eggs, all the vegetables they had. 3 silver total. Finally, for chickens, 3 hens and 1 rooster. The hens would lay eggs. The rooster was tonight's dinner. Mira couldn't stop staring at it. Back home, I sent the twins to unpack while I visited old Hans, my landlord. I bought the house outright for 80 silver. 60 square meters of rundown property on the outer edge of town, but it was mine. I came home waving the deed. From today, this is our home. The twins froze, then tackled me from both sides. We have a home. That afternoon, in front of the 3 horrified hens, I executed the rooster. Mira cheered. We had the best dinner since I'd arrived in this world. Mira ate so much she could barely move and regretted eating all those breads the night before. Mia sat with a satisfied smile, rubbing her full belly. I built a chicken coop in the yard. In medieval times, a hen's backside is basically a copper coin machine. That evening I stopped by the tavern for a quick drink. Leafar was there, but distracted. His mind was entirely on women, as usual. I finished my ale and headed home to my cats. Assets after the shopping spree. 20 gold, 89 silver, 76 copper. Still rich. The next morning, I let the twins rest. Sustainable development, I told myself. I headed to the military barracks alone to meet Rupert. He got straight to the point. His mother Aaliyah was impressed by me, especially my casting speed, which she said was faster than some rank 3 mages she'd seen. She wanted me to tutor Jessica in magic. Name my price. I asked for rogue skill books in return, for my cat girls. Rupert looked at me like I was crazy. Training beastfolk slaves was considered a waste in this world. They might betray you at higher ranks, and humans couldn't breed with beastfolk easily anyway, so there was no investment logic. But I had my system to monitor loyalty, so I wasn't worried at all. We agreed. I'd tutor Jessica for 10 silver per session, and he'd provide the rogue manuals. Done. That afternoon, I brought the twins to the barracks. They took the rogue handbook to a corner to study while I went to the private training ground. Jessica and Aaliyah were both waiting. Jessica teased me about always having cat girls in tow. I explained with total sincerity that after months of seeing unwashed mercenaries, my eyes needed medical treatment, and pretty faces were the cure. If I'd been seeing beauties like you and Lady Aaliyah every day, I'd have bought male slaves instead. Aaliyah laughed and left us to it. Jessica pouted but got serious. Her first question, why can you cast so fast? High-rank mages can do it because their soul power is overwhelming. But you're only rank 1. How? I'd been preparing for this. I told her the secret was modeling, building a complete mental simulation of the spell before casting. Modeling? Is that a food? She looked confused. No, not fried bread. Modeling. It's a technique, I explained. Don't just memorize the chant and expect a fireball to appear. Instead, visualize the entire process in your mind. How does mana gather? How does a tiny spark form, then grow as mana flows in? How does the flame rotate, compress, then expand into a ball? Same for Windblade. Imagine how air currents form, compress into a sharp edge, then slice outward. To demonstrate, I raised my hand casually. No chanting, just a thought. Windblade. An invisible slash cut through the air and cleanly severed a training dummy's arm. The cut was smooth as glass. Once your mental model is complete and fast enough, you don't need words at all. Your mind has already built the spell. The downside is slightly less power than a fully chanted version. Jessica's eyes went wide. Silent casting? Jessica shouted. That's supposed to be impossible below rank 4 or 5. Then she caught herself. Wait, why didn't you do this on the battlefield? You were yelling at the top of your lungs. I puffed out my chest. Today is a teaching demonstration. On the battlefield, if you don't shout your spell names, you lose the momentum. It just feels wrong. She asked why I developed this ability. I put on my most pitiful face and explained that I was too poor to waste mana. So I practiced imagining spells over and over in my head, like how a starving person imagines eating a bread before buying it. Eventually, the visualization just worked. Jessica tried it herself. She squeezed her eyes shut and turned red from effort, but couldn't produce a single spark silently. Still, after an afternoon of modeling practice, her regular casting speed improved by about 30%. She went from frustrated to genuinely excited. That evening at dinner, Jessica raved about me to her family. Aaliyah was impressed but amused when Jessica explained my reason for shouting on the battlefield. Rupert's fork scraped his plate, protective brother instincts kicking in whenever his sister praised another man. The next week settled into routine. Mornings I tutored Jessica at the barracks while the twins studied the rogue handbook in a corner. I also ground my own spells whenever I had free time. Evenings I'd visit the tavern. Leafar spent his 3 gold on prostitutes until he'd visited every working woman in town, then came to say goodbye. He was heading to the capital for art. I gave him my address and told him to visit next time. On the 7th day, Jessica's last session before returning to Griffin City's Magic Academy, she finally did it. No chanting. A wobbly, fist-sized fireball appeared in her palm. Mom, I did it. I'm a genius. Aaliyah thanked me sincerely and offered me a position in Eagle territory. She said with my talent, earning a knighthood through military service was realistic. I accepted the connection but told her I wanted to travel first. I hadn't even seen Griffin City yet. She didn't push it. We agreed I'd come running if they ever needed me. Jessica, who'd warmed up to me considerably over the week, invited me to visit her at the Magic Academy. Our dynamic worked because I treated her like a normal person instead of fawning over her like Ron the Sycophant. Having 2 cute cat maids probably helped. I clearly wasn't desperate for female attention. I told her I'd visit Griffin City in about a week. I needed to shop for equipment, and secretly, I needed a rank 2 spell book. My progress bar was approaching the cap. After goodbyes, I took the twins home with my 10 silver tutoring fee. How's the rogue handbook coming? 1 or 2 more days, master. They answered together. Good. Whoever breaks through to rank 1 first gets a special reward. Their eyes lit up like lanterns. The next morning, I felt a faint energy pulse. Mia was sitting on the bed, staring at her hands in amazement. Rank 1, rogue class, 0 out of 1,000. Mira, who'd been slacking and daydreaming during study time, was slightly behind. But motivated by her sister's breakthrough and the promise of a reward, she broke through that same afternoon. My mate adventure team finally had real combat power. 2 rank 1 rogues instead of helpless meat shields. Mira celebrated her breakthrough by puffing out her chest and declaring she'd protect me from now on. Adorable, but I had bigger things on my mind. My own progress was at 941 out of 1,000. 2 or 3 more days. Mia was even happier about Myra's advancement than her own. Her sister finally had basic combat ability. She started crying with gratitude, saying I was the best master she'd ever known, and tried to kneel again. I stopped her and reminded her of the no kneeling rule. Then I announced the reward for being first to rank 1. Mia had won. The prize was an intensive private training session. I scooped her up and headed for the bedroom, calling Mira to join as support. 2 days later, during morning meditation, something broke free inside me. My mana pool expanded several times over. My soul felt lighter, sharper, more powerful. I could feel my spiritual energy reaching outward, controllable and tangible. Rank 2. I didn't know a single rank 2 spell, technically just a rank 1 mage with a bigger mana tank. But that didn't matter. What mattered was that at rank 2, I could manipulate soul energy, which meant I could finally use the Faith Covenant. I needed to keep this quiet. Going from 0 to rank 1 in a day could be explained as a lucky encounter. Going from rank 1 to rank 2 in barely over a month? Even geniuses took several months to years. This speed would terrify people. But there was one thing I'd been waiting to do since I first heard about the Covenant at the slave market. Mia, come here, master. I want to sign the Faith Covenant with you. Will you accept? She froze. The rag in her hand hit the floor. Myra's mouth fell open. In this world, the Faith Covenant was more sacred than a marriage proposal. Because of the soul impurity rule, every man could only ever sign one. Giving that single slot to someone was the ultimate commitment. And I was offering it to her. A slave, a beast girl, a nobody. Mia couldn't process it. She stammered that she wasn't worthy. She even pushed Mira forward, saying her sister admired me more and deserved it. Classic Mia, always sacrificing herself. I'm asking you, I said firmly. Yes or no? I won't force you. Yes? Of course yes. Tears streamed down her face. I never dreamed. Good enough? I took a deep breath, activated my rank 2 soul energy, and spoke the oath using my true name. Soul contracts required your real one. I, Lin Kai, swear upon my soul to forge a faith covenant with you. Mia, I sent the soul link request. Mia closed her eyes and felt a warm, sacred contract appear in her mind. She accepted without hesitation. A fragment of her soul separated and flowed into mine. She gasped as an overwhelming wave of warmth, safety, and connection flooded through her from the deepest level of her being. She could faintly sense my emotions, my happiness in that moment. On my end, I felt Mia's soul fragment enter my consciousness. It immediately tried to merge with my main soul, and that was the root of the soul impurity problem that limited everyone else to one covenant. The soul fragment tried to merge with my main soul. That's what drives everyone else insane when they attempt multiple covenants. But I activated my system instantly. My consciousness became like an operating system, and I forced the fragment into an isolated partition. Clean separation. Perfect containment. It worked. I could now actively sense Mia's emotions and status whenever I focused on it. Mia burst into happy tears and tried to kneel again. I pulled her onto my lap instead and told her the punishment for kneeling was acting like a cat for the rest of the day. No human speech allowed. She nuzzled against my chest, meowing, and asked if I wanted to eat her. The covenant's affinity effect had made her much bolder, but I had something else to do first. I turned to Mira. Do you want to sign the faith covenant with me too? Mia panicked immediately. Master, you can't. They say signing with 2 people will kill you. She even offered to give up her own covenant so Mira could have it instead. I'm fine, I said confidently. I can handle multiple covenants. Mia, you're a cat right now. Meow, don't talk. Meow. Mira hesitated too, saying she didn't want me to risk my life. But when I asked yes or no, she shouted, of course I want to. I repeated the oath with Myra's name. Another soul fragment entered my consciousness, and I guided it into a second isolated partition. Perfect separation again. Both twins stared at me with terrified eyes until I opened mine and grinned. I'm completely fine. They collapsed with relief, patting their flat chests. Mira, now boosted by the covenant's affinity, immediately got cheeky. Not bad for a weakling, master. You really can contract multiple people. Huh? I raised an eyebrow. Sounds like last night's lesson wasn't enough. Time for another round of combat training. Afterward, I got serious. The multiple covenant ability was our highest secret, never to be shared with anyone, including future slaves. I also deactivated their slave collars magic, severing the explosive contract. But I told them to keep wearing the collars in public. In human cities, a collarless beast girl would be captured as a wild stray. The collar marked them as own property that nobody would touch. Finally, I gave them my surname. Mia Springer. Mira Springer. Mira practically bounced off the walls with excitement. I laid out our next steps. First, buy more team members. Second, travel to Griffin City for rank 2 spell books. And silk stockings. We checked the slave market in Eagle territory, but after scanning everyone with appraisal, the results were disappointing. Plenty of pretty faces, but their traits were all fear, despair, and submission. No hidden talents like Mia and Mira had. The good prospects had probably been picked clean by buyers in bigger cities long ago. My twins had only slipped through because they were too skinny and flat-chested to attract mainstream buyers. Next time, I'll find someone with more presence, I noted to myself. Balance out the team composition. I decided to save my shopping for Griffin City. At the guild, I found a convenient escort mission departing tomorrow. Guard a merchant caravan to Griffin City for 40 silver. Perfect timing. Get paid to travel where I was already going. My total picture. Rank 2 mage with 2 rank 1 rogue cat girls, both soulbound through the faith covenant, 20 plus gold in savings, and a shopping list that included spell books, new recruits, and stockings. Life in this world was finally getting good. Before leaving, I had the twins practice their new rogue skill, Backstab, a shadow charge that teleports you behind an enemy within 5 meters for a quick strike. Deadly against squishy mages like me, but useless against armored warriors who could just turn around and crush them. I had them spar against each other, practicing timing and evasion. I tried learning from the warrior manual myself, hoping for magic warrior dual class potential. No luck. My body was too weak for warrior techniques. I couldn't even activate the simplest skill after a full day of practice. I'd stick to mage fundamentals and pick up whatever basic survival moves I could. The next morning, we joined the merchant caravan at the city gates. The same merchant from the goblin incident. He'd learned his lesson this time and hired 5 extra bodyguards. All 5 were rank 0 rookies, splitting the 40 silver job between them. Meanwhile, I alone was getting 40 silver. The rank gap translated directly into pay. The trip was uneventful. 2 small goblin groups attacked, and I wiped them out with instant fireballs before the rookies could even draw their swords. I gave them the loot, worthless coppers and junk weapons I didn't need anymore. They called me generous. By evening, we reached Griffin City. It was massive, 3 or 4 times bigger than Eagle territory, maybe 20,000 people. The gate guard captain alone was rank 2. But something felt off. The streets were wider, the shops fancier, yet the common people looked worse than back home. Their faces carried a dull, numb resignation that Eagle territory's citizens didn't have. Aaliyah and Rule really were different from other nobles. The inn prices confirmed it. 80 coppers for a room and basic food, several times what I'd paid in Eagle territory. Highway robbery. Mira tasted the black wheat ale and spat it out. Gross. Tastes like horse pee. A table of mercenaries behind us roared with laughter. A rank 2 mercenary captain with a thick beard turned around and sized us up with unfriendly eyes. Some rich kid from a backwater town, traveling with 2 pretty little toys. I stayed calm. I was technically rank 2 but had no rank 2 skills, basically a fraud in a real fight. This was someone else's turf. I raised my cup politely and played the humble country boy angle, mentioning I was here to find my friend Leafar, a bard. The captain's hostility vanished instantly. That old bastard who never pays for sex and tells dirty jokes? He was here yesterday, told some story about a lich king and his kidnapped bride, had everyone in stitches. Then he headed east to find mermaids or something. Leafar's reputation as a lovable scoundrel was apparently continent-wide networking. The tension dissolved. I pulled out my storytelling skills and entertained the whole tavern with an expanded, dirted-up version of the Lich King saga. Jaina's stockings, Sylvanus's quiver. The mercenaries were howling. By the end of the night, I'd made friends with half the tavern. The twins sat beside me, blushing the entire time. Later in our room, after some private time, Mia lay against my chest and whispered, "Master, after hearing your stories, I want to chase you for 10,000 years, like Maev." I squeezed her ear gently. "You don't need 10,000 years. I've already caught you." First morning in Griffin City. The twins were already up studying their rogue handbook by window light. They helped me dress like proper maids. I could get used to this noble lifestyle. Shopping time. First stop, the clothing store. 10 pairs of white silk stockings, please, 20 silver. Mia winced at the price. That was 100 black breads. Mira grinned and called me out immediately. I knew it. Master came to Griffin City for stockings, not spell books. You like feet. I flicked her forehead. It's art. You wouldn't understand. Second stop, the bookstore. I found what I needed. Fundamentals of Rank 2 Spellcraft. A comprehensive guide. The price nearly killed me. 5 gold coins. 500 silver. Enough for 250 pairs of stockings. No wonder ordinary people couldn't advance. This wasn't education, it was knowledge monopoly blocking class mobility. But without it, I'd stay a fake Rank 2 forever. I paid through gritted teeth. Assets dropped to 15 gold, 89 silver, 76 copper. Then the main event, Griffin City's slave market. It was 5 times bigger than Eagle territories. Rows of wooden cages stretched to the horizon, the air thick with despair and filth. I scanned everyone with appraisal as I walked through. Mostly negative traits, broken spirits, illness, trauma. Even a middle-aged fox beast woman cost 5 gold, and the pretty ones were far beyond that. I kept searching like someone digging through a gacha machine for rare pulls. Then I found her. A wolf beast girl in a separate cage. Long black hair with silver-white tips matching her tail. Unusually pale skin, tall frame, and even curled up in that cage. I could tell she had the kind of figure Mia and Mira definitely lacked. At least a C-cup situation. But it was her traits that made my heart pound. Natural warrior talent, plus high physical potential. Born to be a frontline fighter. Exactly what my squishy mage team needed. She also had a hostile to humans tag. But compared to those combat traits, that was nothing. A little kindness and the Covenant's affinity would fix that easily. I played it cool. I browsed other slaves first, asked about a fox girl at 10 gold, a rabbit at 1 gold, before casually pointing at number 97. The seller started at 2 gold. I talked him down by pointing out her scars, the infected wound on her leg, and her obviously rebellious attitude. This one's a runner or a fighter. Buy her today, lose her tomorrow. Hard to sell, right? He caved. 1 gold, 80 silver. Done. I signed the slave collar contract, got the keys, and looked at my new recruit. 97 is an ugly name. From now on, you're Ning. Her emotions shifted from pure hostility to confused suspicion. She was still on guard, ready to bite. I told Mia to talk to her and teach her the house rules. Mia approached gently. She'd been in those cages herself not long ago. I studied Ning properly. About 167 centimeters tall, long legs, strong build hidden under rags, and a young face full of stubborn defiance. Her traits screamed hatred and resistance. I smiled. That was fine. I'd tamed 2 terrified kittens into loyal partners. 1 angry wolf was just a different challenge. Let's go. I had a simple 3-step plan for taming an angry wolf. Step 1, let her stay hungry. Step 2, let her watch others eat well. Step 3, give her the feast. It smells too good to resist. Principle never fails. But first, business. I led the whole group, 2 cat maids and 1 filthy, silent wolf girl, into Griffin City's biggest weapon shop. A gorgeous rank 3 staff caught my eye. Storm sapphire, griffin feathers, beautiful craftsmanship. 50 gold. I nearly choked. That was 25 MIAs and Miris combined. The clerk explained it was a display piece to prove the shop's quality. The rank 2 staffs range from 10 to 15 gold. Even the cheapest rank 1 white ash staff cost 2 gold. The clerk explained the weapon tier system. Higher rank materials conducted mana better. But what really mattered was the inscription and enchantment carved by a craftsman 1 rank above the weapon's level. A rank 4 staff made by a rank 5 archmage would amplify spells significantly and reduce mana cost. My brain immediately went to economics. High-level blacksmiths were basically money printers. If I ever learned enchanting, I could fund an entire army just from crafting. I bought what I needed, a rank 1 staff for 2 gold, 2 enchanted rank 1 daggers for the twins, 1 enchanted rank 1 longsword, and 2 dozen enchanted rank 1 throwing knives. The knives were consumables, throw 1 and lose it, basically tossing gold coins at enemies. But dying was worse than going broke. Total damage, 5 gold. Assets crashed to 9 gold, 9 silver, 76 copper. I'd burned through a third of my wealth in 1 shopping trip. Walking out, I couldn't help screaming at the sky. I need to stop spending. Mia tugged my sleeve and offered to take missions to earn money. Mira heroically volunteered to give up jam. I laughed and told them not to worry. Money existed to be spent. Then I glanced at Ning. Her stomach was growling audibly. Her traits showed intense hunger fighting against her stubborn pride. She'd been watching us casually spend gold all morning while she hadn't eaten in who knows how long. I bought her a basic set of cheap clothes first, 20 silver. No point dressing her up yet. Then I led everyone back to the inn and ordered 2 whole roast chickens with all the trimmings, delivered to our private room. The door closed. The room filled with the smell of golden, dripping roast chicken. Ning's stomach growled so loud everyone could hear it. Her hostile traits were cracking. The hunger was overwhelming her hatred. I sat down and smiled. All right, let's eat. Step 3 of the wolf taming plan, begin. I tore off the 2 best drumsticks from 1 roast chicken and gave them to Mia and Mira. Good work today. You earned these. Mia hesitated, glancing at Ning standing there with eyes practically glowing green from hunger. But the Covenant's influence helped her focus. She ate her share quietly. Mira had no such hesitation. She deliberately took a huge, noisy bite, oil dripping everywhere, and shot Ning a challenging look. That little gremlin was enjoying this. I gave the twins white bread and sparkling wine. Then I slowly ate some chicken myself, savoring it. Last, I picked up a hard black bread and tossed it at Ning's feet. Her whole body shook. Her fists clenched until her nails dug into her palms. Fury, humiliation, and starvation all battling inside her. Not eating, I leaned back, picking my teeth like a lazy aristocrat. Oh, wolves prefer meat, right? I pointed at the untouched roast chicken. I'm a fair man. Mia and Mira call me master. They get drumsticks. You call me master once. You get white bread. Her silver eyes burned with rage. A wolf warrior begging a human? Never. Then her stomach growled so loud it echoed off the walls. Mira getting an extra bread as a bonus was the final straw. A tiny voice, dripping with tears and humiliation, squeezed through her teeth. Mas.ter, louder. Like you mean it, master, good girl. I tossed her the white bread. She caught it and devoured it like an animal, tears streaming down her face. More. Keep calling until I'm satisfied. Something broke inside her. Master, 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 she screamed it like a war cry, shattering her own pride with each repetition. Once the wall cracks, the whole thing comes down. Okay, stop. My ears were ringing. Then I stood up and pushed the entire untouched roast chicken, 5 white breads, and a glass of sparkling wine right in front of her. She froze completely. You called me 7 or 8 times, I said casually. 1 bread per call. The extras convert to a whole chicken. Fair deal, right? She couldn't believe it. She'd expected to beg 100 times for a bone. Eat. This was always meant for you. I'm not interested in starving the person who's supposed to take hits for me in battle. I patted her back. She flinched at the touch but couldn't resist anymore. She grabbed the chicken and tore into it, crying and eating at the same time. Hot, real food, the first she'd had in months of captivity. She demolished the entire chicken, then 5 white breads without stopping for water. When she reached for the leftover black bread on pure starvation instinct, I caught her wrist. Stop. You've been starving too long. Eating more will make you sick. I pushed the wine toward her. Drink this slowly. She looked up at me with those silver eyes, face covered in grease and tears. As long as you behave, no running, no hurting anyone, you'll never go hungry again. If I eat, you eat. She slammed her face onto the table and started sobbing uncontrollably. I left the room quietly and told Mia and Mira to go in. Comfort your new teammate. And teach her our house rules. I went downstairs to tell stories and socialize for a couple hours. When I came back, the room was quiet. Mia and Mira were sitting with Ning, who looked calmer but strangely flushed, avoiding eye contact. I shot a suspicious look at Mira. That gremlin had definitely said something inappropriate. Ning's traits were a mess, a mile-long list including basic trust, heavy suspicion, confusion about why I was kind, and mysteriously embarrassed about chest being stared at. Mira, what did you do? I let it go for the night and took the bed farthest from Ning. Baby steps. The next morning, I gave them their orders. Wash Ning, change her clothes, teach her to read. I left a whole gold coin on the table for food and told them to eat well. I also left the warrior manual for Ning to start learning. Ning stared at the gold coin in shock. 100 silver, just casually left for them. She asked Mia if the master really trusted them this much. Mira puffed out her flat chest proudly. Master's a bit perverted, but he treats us really well. Mia bonked her head and corrected. We love Master. Then Mia demonstrated her backstab skill, flickering behind Ning in an instant to show what training under me had achieved. From the sounds coming from the bathroom later, the bathing session was eventful. Ning apparently discovered some significant differences between wolf and cat anatomy. Meanwhile, I headed to the Magic Academy. Jessica ran out to greet me, visibly happy I'd come alone without the cat girls, then tried to hide that she was happy. She led me inside to meet her teacher. The academy was a small luxury estate. Fountains, gardens, magic lanterns. Clearly only nobles and wealthy families could afford this place. Jessica's teacher opened the door. Lady Myth, a mature woman in a flame-red mage robe, with a scholar's warm smile and the most impressive figure I'd encountered in either world. Genuinely intimidating proportions. She was a rank 4 fire mage, and the wife of the Griffin Count's second son, which meant the Count's household had at least one rank 5 and 2 rank 4s. The power gap between a baron's family and a count's family was staggering. Lady Myth noticed my eyes briefly landing on her chest. I redirected quickly, but those 4-star perceptive skills missed nothing. "Call me Leo," I said, keeping my composure. Inside, my brain was doing rapid calculations about noble family power structures and desperately trying not to stare. Lady Myth said she'd seen Jessica demonstrate the faster casting and was impressed. But she didn't believe a rank 1 mage had invented the modeling theory alone. She wanted the real story. I pulled out my trusty Gandalf card again, upgraded to version 3.0. I told her about meeting a mysterious white-robed elder in the forest who taught me for a couple weeks before casually opening a teleportation portal and vanishing. The modeling theory was mostly his. I just refined it a tiny bit. Myth's expression turned serious. "Opening a portal casually. That's at least rank 6. She speculated it might be the retired rank 7 space mage, former honorary dean of the Imperial Magic Academy, who disappeared over a decade ago. Only the Empress knew his whereabouts. She explained that normally, mages reached silent casting around rank 4 or 5 through pure repetition, thousands of casts making it second nature. But nobody had ever formalized it into a teachable theory before. Whether I'd figured it out myself or learned it from that elder, I was exceptional. Then came the pressure interview. She asked how long it took me to reach rank 1. "About 2 weeks, I said, grateful I'd kept that lie consistent at the tavern. She relaxed slightly. "Fast but not impossible." "And rank 2? I cringed internally. I'd already bought the rank 2 spell book at a local shop, and the Griffin family could easily trace my purchases. Lying would backfire worse than the truth. "I just reached rank 2 2 nights ago." Her eyes went wide. "Guild records showed I'd certified as rank 1 barely a month ago. That was insanely fast." I launched into a new cover story. I was a freeman's son from a remote village. My family once had a knight ancestor, hence the Springer surname, but fell into poverty. My father died young, my mother recently. I'd actually reached rank 1 much earlier, during my time with Gandalf in the forest. I just didn't know about guild certification or the monthly stipend until I wandered into Eagle territory and heard a bard mention it. So by the time I registered, I'd already been rank 1 for over a month. This shifted the timeline from 1 month to rank 2 to about 2.5 months. Still extraordinary, but less terrifying. Myth accepted it, though I could tell she wasn't fully convinced. She formally offered me a position at the academy or in the Griffin family. If I reached rank 3, they'd guarantee me my own territory in Griffin province. I politely declined, citing my existing commitment to Eagle territory. Jessica immediately jumped in front of me protectively, reminding her teacher that the Eagle Baron had originally been a Griffin family knight. So working for Eagle territory was basically working for them indirectly. "Don't steal our talent." Myth laughed and didn't push further. But she made it clear. In her eyes, I was an undeniable genius, backed by a legendary hidden master, and worth investing in regardless of which family I served. Myth asked if I'd learned any rank 2 spells yet. I showed her my freshly bought textbook. She glanced at it and shook her head. "Too basic." Then she pulled a thick, beautifully bound volume from her shelf and handed it to me. "Michaela's Magical Construction Theory, a rank 3 mage's personal notes. Consider it an apology for investigating you," she said with a smile. I grabbed it so fast my hands blurred. Then I launched into my poor mage routine, wailing about how the basic book had cost me 5 gold. 2 months of savings, all gone. Jessica accidentally helped my act by pointing out I'd clearly made more than 2 gold from the goblin raid. I redirected into more self-pitying. Buying slaves was investment, buying books was wasteful consumption, and I'd just bought a 3rd slave, so I was practically bankrupt. Myth watched me perform, and I could see her relaxing. A greedy, woman-obsessed, money-crying genius was far less threatening than a mysterious saint. The more flaws she could see, the more controllable I seemed. That was exactly what I wanted. She sent Jessica to get tea, leaving us alone. Then she offered the real deal. A rank 3 staff, heart of flame, dark red with a cat's eye gem, in exchange for letting the Griffin family publish my modeling theory under their name. I snatched the staff instantly and played dumb. "What theory? I'm just a country bumpkin. I don't know anything about any theory." Inside, I understood perfectly. This was hush money. Myth wanted to claim the theory for her husband's branch of the Griffin family, boosting their prestige. Since Eagle Territory served under the Griffin family, and I worked for Eagle Territory, I was essentially already on her side of the political chessboard. The theory's real value was far beyond one's staff, which is exactly why staying quiet kept me alive. Back at the inn, the twins and Ning were eating lunch together. Ning actually greeted me. "Welcome back, Master," with much less hostility than yesterday. But her face was still red, and her traits showed more of Myra's education about anatomy comparisons. I glared at Mira. That gremlin needed to be dealt with. The afternoon was peaceful, everyone studying. I devoured my 2 new magic books while the twins taught Ning reading and basic warrior theory. That evening, paranoia kicked in. Myth was definitely having me watched. My cover persona was talented but greedy, woman-obsessed mage. I needed to maintain that image. But Ning had just arrived. Touching her now would trigger her hostile traits into a meltdown. I came up with a solution. I pulled Mira aside and whispered, "Make those sounds you make during our language lessons." Loud enough for the walls. Mira blushed for once. Performing solo in front of Mia and Ning was different from the real thing. But the Covenant's affinity won out. She cleared her throat, and in front of Mia's shocked face and Ning's even more shocked face, began her Oscar-worthy performance. "Meow. Mew. Ah. Make it last longer," I whispered to Mira. "Otherwise people will think I'm weak." Then I pulled Mia and Ning close and explained quietly. I was being watched. We needed to maintain my image as a simple, lustful guy with no hidden ambitions. Since Ning had just arrived, and I wasn't about to force anything on her, we'd fake it. Everyone just needed to make some convincing sounds. Ning was stunned. Not by the request, by the fact that a slave owner was actually explaining himself and respecting her boundaries. Her hostility cracked a little more. Mia blushed, but cooperated with some soft meowing. When it was Ning's turn, she nearly howled at the moon instead. The next couple of days in Griffin City, I kept up appearances. Took them shopping. More made outfits for Ning, silk stockings all around. Each evening, the group performance continued. My paranoia was probably overkill. Myth likely didn't care enough about a fake rank 2 to post surveillance. But the side effect was perfect. Ning went from suspicious outsider to reluctant accomplice in our weird little family. Assets bled down to 7 gold, 75 silver, 60 copper after all the spending. We joined the merchant caravan back to Eagle Territory. Uneventful trip, not a single goblin. The moment I stepped through my own front door, all the tension drained out of me. Home. Safe. The chickens had survived on the feed I'd left. Mia collected fresh eggs. Dinner was simple. Fried eggs on white bread. Same portions for everyone including Ning. At bedtime, I sent Mia to sleep with Ning for comfort. She was disappointed. She'd been without private time for days, but she understood. I promised her a special reward tomorrow. Mia quietly talked with Ning in their room, sharing stories about our life, my weird habits, how things worked in this household. Ning was starting to trust Mia most of all. Then from my room, the sounds of Myra's punishment session drifted through the walls. Mia dove under her blankets, face burning. Ning lay there wide-eyed, unable to sleep, mind racing with confused thoughts. In my room, I'd finally cornered the gremlin responsible for all my recent headaches. I pinned Mira down and delivered justice. 1 spank for the foot fetish comment, 1 for calling me perverted, 1 for telling Ning about chest differences, and an extra hard one for whatever she'd done in the bath. "How did you know about that?" Mira shrieked. "Did that traitor Mia tell you?" She threw her arms out dramatically. Betrayed by my own sister. I always knew our bond was fragile. Fine. Mira will bear this burden alone. I couldn't help laughing at the little drama queen, even as I continued her education. The next morning, Mira was finally subdued, helping me dress with a red face, unable to meet my eyes. Victory. After breakfast, I left the 3 maids at home with literacy lessons for Ning and headed straight to the Baron's castle. No more hesitating. I needed to formally accept Aaliyah's offer. I found her at the training grounds in leather armor, drilling soldiers. I told her I'd met Lady Myth in Griffin City and had already promised Jessica I'd work for Eagle Territory. Then I dropped the bomb. I'd broken through to rank 2. Her eagle eyes locked onto me. "You certified rank 1 barely a month ago." I rolled out the Gandalf excuse again. My mentor said I'd been on the edge of breakthrough for a long time. It just needed 1 final push. But I admitted I was a fake rank 2 with no rank 2 spells yet. Aaliyah was thrilled regardless. Eagle Territory desperately needed mages. She'd tried hiring academy-trained ones from Griffin City, but they demanded 1 gold per month and were painfully slow, 5 seconds to cast a single fireball. Most talented mages preferred staying near the Count's family anyway. She offered me the job, train magic apprentices for the territory, tutor Jessica when she visited, half-day commitment every afternoon. Monthly salary, 1 gold coin. Mornings and evenings were mine to do whatever I wanted. Take guild quests, train, anything. Half-day work, 1 gold per month. This was the fantasy equivalent of a government job with benefits. I accepted before she could change her mind. Then Aaliyah opened up like I was family. She started sharing Eagle Territory's problems. The main town had only about 5,000 people, barely 2,000 adult men after accounting for soldiers. Beyond the town were 4 villages, 2 given to loyal knights, and 2 smaller ones currently without a lord. She gave me a meaningful look. Those empty villages were waiting for someone who earned enough merit and could be trusted. My heart thumped. She was dangling a future lordship. She explained the empire's hierarchy. Rank 2 or 3 with military achievements could earn a knight title. Rank 3 or 4 could become a baron with their own estate. Viscounts needed rank 4 or 5. Counts were rank 5 going on 6. Those people sat in capitals with family faith power accelerating their growth. For commoners without noble backing, reaching rank 3 or 4 through pure training was usually the ceiling before being recruited or married into a noble house. Then her tone turned grave. The border was growing unstable. Northern beastmen were increasingly restless. And that rank 3 goblin shaman I'd encountered, that was an anomaly. In 100 years of imperial records, no goblin had ever reached rank 3. Something was driving them, manipulating them from behind. She gripped my shoulder. You're rank 2 now, Leo. You're not just an adventurer anymore. You're core combat strength for Eagle Territory. Earn your achievements, and a knighthood is guaranteed. I snapped to attention and gave my most sincere bow. I swear loyalty to the Eagle family. Inside, I was doing math. Steady income, political backing, a path to nobility, and an ominous mystery involving abnormally powerful goblins. This world was getting serious, and so was I. I didn't fully trust Aaliyah's promises, but I knew I needed Eagle Territory's protection. At rank 2, I'd graduated from chicken feed to meat chicken, still nothing in the eyes of real powerhouses. The Eagle family was decent people, probably because they were new nobility without old corruption. Worth binding myself to for now. Tomorrow I'd start the job and drag all 3 girls to the barracks for training. No way I'd be working while they lounged at home. But today was their last day of freedom, so I decided to treat them. I bought a whole live sheep for 6 silver, plus onions, vegetables, and expensive spices for 4 more. Time for a cooking demonstration from another world. When I opened the front door, I froze. 3 girls in new silk-made outfits, and on their feet, the white stockings I'd bought in Griffin City. 6 pristine, white legs lined up before me. My brain stopped working. Like what you see, Master. Mira grinned and puffed out her flat chest. I managed to look up at their faces. Ning was blushing but could now say, Master, smoothly. Huge progress. Mira proudly claimed credit for the stocking idea. When I offered to reward her, she panicked and hid behind Mia. Give the opportunity to my sister. I need rest. I hugged each of them in turn. When I reached Ning, she trembled slightly but didn't pull away. I patted her head and asked about her reading progress. Mia reported that Ning was learning fast and working hard. Then I pointed at the sheep tied to the doorpost. 3 stomachs growled simultaneously. Ning's eyes went wolf green with hunger. Today, I'm cooking. Half an hour later, reality hit. I was standing in the yard with a dagger, having no idea how to slaughter a sheep. I'd only ever stabbed goblins. Mira was shocked. Ning actually cracked a smile, her first one, before catching herself. She took the knife from me and handled it with the effortless precision of someone raised in a nomadic tribe. 1 clean motion, done. We spent the whole afternoon preparing. No lunch. Everyone was starving by the time I started cooking, which only raised anticipation. I used techniques from my old life. Chinese-style braised lamb chops, lamb offal soup, and grilled skewers. No crude. Roast the whole thing over a fire, like this world did. How much longer? Mira whined, draped over the table. Ning's about to faint. Can I taste test for poison? When the braised lamb chops finally came out, all restraint vanished. The girls attacked the food. Mia cried over how good the awful soup was. Mira devoured skewers 2 at a time. Ning said nothing. She just grabbed lamb chops in one hand, skewers in the other, and powered through like a machine. Her traits shifted from cautious to something warmer. The food was doing what words couldn't. Between 4 people, we nearly finished an entire sheep. Mira patted her round belly and burped happily. Mia offered to massage my shoulders despite being stuffed herself. I leaned back in my chair, satisfied. After weeks of bread and more bread, real cooking felt like coming home. I'd need to teach these girls Chinese cuisine eventually. Then Ning, who'd been silent throughout the meal, suddenly stood up. Ning suddenly stood up from the table, walked over to me, and dropped to her knees. Master, from today, my life belongs to you. Her voice shook, but was firm. She said even if everything I'd shown her was an act, the warmth and comfort she'd felt these past days was more than she'd ever known. She'd die for me without hesitation. I wasn't expecting this so soon. I'd underestimated what several days of real food, clean clothes, and basic dignity meant to someone who'd spent months in a cage eating rotten scraps. Get up, I pulled her to her feet. We don't do kneeling in this house. I didn't buy you so you could throw your life away. We're family. Do you know why I named you Ning? I began. Myra's hand shot up. Because she's your 0th plushie. The deeply emotional moment shattered instantly. Mia started beating Mira on the spot. I wanted to deliver a touching speech about Ning, meaning a fresh start from 0, but Mira had already ruined it. Mia, turn your sister into an actual plushie. I can't take her anymore. Ning watched the chaos. Mira running, Mia chasing, me yelling. And for the first time since being captured, she smiled. A real, bright smile. Her hostile trait vanished completely, replaced by genuine loyalty. That evening was Mia's turn for private time, as promised. She'd earned it, managing the household, teaching Ning, being patient and selfless. Meanwhile, in the other room, Mira was already corrupting Ning. What is Master like? Oh, let me tell you, she whispered all sorts of terrible advice into the wolf girl's innocent ears. The next morning, I woke to something pressing against my forehead. I opened my eyes to find Ning standing over me on the bed, face crimson, her chest inches from my face. Gee, good morning, Master. Mira said you liked being woken up this way. Mira, my scream nearly brought down the roof. I grabbed a blanket and defended my honor. She's lying. She's always lying. How dare she slander me? Ning's traits now showed she genuinely believed I had bizarre preferences. My reputation was in ruins. At breakfast, I made announcements. First, the morning incident was slander. Mira was banned from Jam for 1 week. She looked like her world had ended. Second, I'd been hired as Eagle Territory's magic instructor, working afternoons at the barracks. And all 3 of them were coming with me. No more lounging at home. Mornings, Mira teaches Ning to read. Mia comes with me on errands. At noon, I check Ning's progress. If it's not good enough, Mira gets punished. Ning nodded seriously. She wanted to get stronger to protect this family. Mia smiled behind her hand, secure in her position. And Mira wailed dramatically about bearing everyone's burdens alone. The household was complete chaos. But it was my chaos, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. The next month and a half settled into a steady rhythm. Mornings, Mia and I would check the guild for quests. Pickings were slim in Eagle Territory, but we cleared 2 more goblin groups. I didn't even bother fighting. I stood back and directed while Ning, Mia, and Mira handled everything as training. The 15 silver we earned covered a month of food. Afternoons were spent at the barracks. Ning's warrior talent and her determination to protect the family drove her to train like a maniac, even sneaking out to the yard at night for extra practice. I rewarded her effort with the iron chainmail and my enchanted rank 1 longsword. She thanked me with a shy, sweaty kiss on the cheek. I studied half of the rank 2 spell book and learned 3 key skills: Flame Burst, Water Prison, and Mage Shield. I got officially certified as rank 2 at the guild, bumping my monthly stipend from 3 silver to 10. The twins mastered a new rogue skill from their handbook, Stealth, which made them semi-transparent and nearly silent. Combined with Backstab, they were becoming proper assassins. Ning broke through to rank 1 as a warrior and learned Warrior Shield. She would have been faster if literacy lessons hadn't slowed her down. My teaching job was mostly a disaster. The local recruits had no talent, couldn't even memorize a fireball chant in 3 days. But there was one exception: Sherry, Rupert's fiancée and daughter of Aaliyah's old war comrade. She actually had potential. On the evening of May 12th, I decided it was time. I sat Ning down at the table. Mia and Mira watched quietly, Mira practically vibrating with excitement. Ning, I want to sign the faith covenant with you. Will you accept? She was stunned speechless. In this world, offering your one and only soul covenant to an beast-folk slave was unheard of. She looked at Mia, thinking surely the covenant belonged to someone more deserving. Don't worry about them. Just answer for yourself. Of course I'm willing. I never dreamed. I activated my soul power and spoke the oath. I, Lin Kai, swear upon my soul to forge a faith covenant with you. Ning. She accepted. The soul fragment flowed in, the affinity washed over her, and I smoothly partitioned it into its own isolated folder. Third successful covenant. Getting routine at this point. When it was done, Mia congratulated her warmly. Mira cackled about having a new permanent family member with built-in pillows. Ning was shocked to learn both twins already had covenants too. But it's supposed to be one person only. Masters just built different, Mia suggested thoughtfully. Ning broke down crying again, clinging to my leg. I really have a family now. After she calmed down, Mia asked the question she'd been holding since her own covenant ceremony. Master, when you swear the oath, you say Lin Kai. What does that mean? I looked at 3 pairs of trusting eyes, my soul-bonded family who'd proven their loyalty beyond any doubt. That's my real name, I said. I'm a transmigrator. I told them about being a transmigrator, but kept the system secret. That was my final trump card. The girls were fascinated. Mia remembered tribal elders mentioning transmigrators before. Mira wanted to know everything about my old world. Ning just wanted to know if the lamb recipe was from my homeland. I described airplanes, cities, technology. They listened like children hearing fairy tales. I promised to teach them more cooking from my world. That night was Ning's first time. I held her in my arms, and she whispered about how the past month had been happier than her entire 19 years combined. I told her that's why I named her Ning, for peace and a fresh start. From today, she was Ning Springer. She blushed, gathered her courage, and softly went, "Woof." I nearly had a stroke. Who taught you that? Oh wait, Mira. Obviously Mira. But Ning pointed out that my body's reaction suggested I didn't actually mind. Fair point. I scooped up my newly tamed wolf and got to work. I'll say this, compared to the cats, the wolf's stamina was on another level. By the second half of the night, I wasn't sure who was taming whom. The next morning, I woke to barking sounds from the living room. Mira was running circles around the table going, "Woof, woof," while a red-faced Ning chased her with a broom. Mia was calmly making breakfast in the kitchen. Mira crashed straight into me while running. I grabbed her by the scruff like a kitten. Ning ran over to tattle. "Master, Myra's bullying me." Family justice was served. Myra's backside received its regular punishment. At breakfast, Mira ate her bread with extra jam through tears while Ning ate silently with a red face. Mia and I shared a helpless smile across the table. Since I had 2 days off, I took everyone out to explore Eagle territory properly. Ning had gone straight from the slave market to the barracks and never actually seen the town. Walking down the main street with 3 beautiful beast girl maids in silk outfits and white stockings behind me, every head turned. But when they spotted my rank 2 mage badge, the stares stayed at a respectful distance. I was finally living the fantasy life I'd dreamed about in my old world. First stop, the Adventurers Guild. I pushed all 3 girls to the counter for rank certification. The receptionist was stunned. Nobody had ever registered beastfolk slaves as adventurers before. It didn't follow procedure. I told her plenty of large mercenary companies had beastfolk members. She admitted that was true, though rare. I dropped Aaliyah's name as backup. The Baroness had personally seen them train and praised their progress. That ended all objections. 3 new adventurer badges were processed on the spot. While at the guild, I decided to officially form a mercenary team. The manager waived the registration fee and handed over everyone's monthly stipends, 19 silver total. "What's the team name?" he asked. "The Maid Adventure Team." His smile froze. He clearly thought I was joking, but registered it anyway. We were classified as D rank based on my rank 2 status and 3 rank 1 members. At the door, we bumped into Rupert. He was surprised to see us, but had perfect timing. He needed a mercenary team to escort Eagle Territory's annual trade caravan to the Western Province. His garrison was stretched thin with only 6 Rank 2 knights total, most tied to defense duties. He'd send one Rank 2 knight as lead, but needed additional protection. I agreed on the condition it went through the guild officially. My brand new team needed the mission credit. Rupert asked the team name. The MAGE Adventure Team. His expression was priceless. But he'd known me long enough not to be surprised. 3 gold coins for the month-long round trip, plus whatever loot we found. The mission was posted, and the MAGE Adventure Team accepted its first D-rank contract. Departure, 1 week. Rupert also mentioned the timing worked out. We'd return just in time for his wedding to Sherry. I promised to attend. On our days off, I took the girls shopping for supplies: flour, sugar, grapes, hair accessories, everyday dresses. Then I announced the real project. I'm teaching you how to make bread. Isn't bread just flour and water thrown in a fire? Mira asked. That's how you make a rock, not bread. This world's bread, black or white, was all unleavened, dense as bricks. I showed them how to extract wild yeast from grape skins, how to knead dough, how to let it rise properly. Hours later, the first real soft bread in Eagle Territory's history came out of the oven. The reaction was explosive. Mia ate with tears of joy, softer than cake, she said. Mira and Ning became eating machines. Ning mumbled through a stuffed mouth that we could sell this and make a fortune. Good idea, I said, patting her head. But for now, I'm just training you 3 to make it for me every day. My assets sat at a comfortable 8 gold, 82 silver, 40 copper, with steady income from my teaching salary and guild stipends. A week to prepare, then the Western Province awaited. The MAGE Adventure Team's first real expedition was about to begin. The next morning, all 3 girls were already dressed and waiting with breakfast ready. Unusually well-behaved, even Mira. Then I noticed their necks. The ugly iron slave collars were gone. In their place were slim, elegant leather chokers with small silver tags. Ning stepped forward and confessed it was her idea. She'd noticed my discomfort when people asked about the collars at the guild, and remembered I'd said the collars were just for protection, marking them as owned, so nobody would kidnap them in human cities. So she'd secretly visited a craftsman and ordered custom replacements. Same function, but actually attractive. Each tag read, owner, Leo Springer, and name, their name, Springer, the slave collar. Redesigned as a fashion accessory. Somehow looked even more provocative than before. My nose started bleeding. The girls rallied around the idea immediately. Mia praised Ning's thoughtfulness. Mira started describing even more extreme collar designs she'd seen elsewhere before I shut her down. I surrendered. Fine. If you like them, keep them. Let's go fishing. We spent the day at the river. Nobody caught anything with rods, so Mira jumped in barefoot, and the 3 girls came back with 6 fat fish in half an hour. I handled the grilling. That evening, I organized what I called a battle royale, a full household competition. Mira got eliminated first after being ganged up on by me and Ning as revenge for her constant troublemaking. In the finals, I lost to Ning's superior stamina. She claimed victory. 2 conclusions. First, our 60-square-meter house was too small. Second, a rank 2 mage losing close combat to a rank 1 warrior was embarrassing. I needed physical training. Over the next 5 days, I added serious exercise to my routine. Push-ups, squats, and sparring with Ning. Between my system's efficiency and her relentless coaching, I broke through to rank 1 warrior and learned warrior shield. Dual class achieved. Rank 2 mage, rank 1 warrior. The twins continued grinding their rogue skills. Ning pushed her warrior experience higher. Everyone was progressing steadily. Updated team status by departure day. Me as a mage warrior hybrid. 2 rank 1 rogues. 1 rank 1 warrior. Assets, 10 gold. For silver, 86 copper after collecting mission deposits and stipends. On May 20th, we assembled at the city gates in full combat gear. Mia and Mira wore leather armor with enchanted daggers and throwing knives. Ning wore chainmail with her shield and enchanted longsword. I had leather armor, a regular sword, my shield, and, my pride and joy, the rank 3 staff, Heart of Flame. The merchant waved us over. And that's when I finally saw what Eagle Territory's famous specialty export actually was. The caravan's specialty goods were exactly what I expected from a northern border town. dozens of wolf and fox beastfolk slaves in cages, several cartloads of iron and copper, or with some rare mithril, and pig beastmen doing the heavy hauling. The slaves were high quality, selected for noble buyers, some as beautiful as Ning. But when I scanned their traits, the picture was ugly. Heavy trauma, broken spirits, extreme conditioning. Some wolf girls had been literally trained like dogs. Pretty faces with destroyed personalities. It confirmed what I already knew. Finding gems like Mia, Mira, and Ning was pure luck. I did the math. The pig beastmen alone were worth 50 gold. The premium wolf and fox slaves would bring 300 plus. Add the ore, another 100 gold. Total gross revenue around 400 to 500 gold per trip, with maybe 200 going to the Eagle family. Even good nobles like the Rule family couldn't avoid this trade. Taxes alone couldn't fund a garrison. This was the real economy of a border territory. My girls saw their fellow beast folk in cages and said nothing. This family came first. All they could do, with my permission, was make sure the slaves got a few extra blackbreads during the journey. The escort force was solid. Leading from the rear was Night Walker, a rank 2 warrior and one of Eagle Territory's 6 elite knights. 2 rank 1 knights scouted ahead, plus a dozen 0-rank guards. The fact that Rupert trusted me enough to assign relatively light oversight meant my loyal employee status was fully cemented. The first few days were quiet. Griffin Province's border regions were too militarized for bandits, and goblins avoided large caravans. Then, just as we were leaving a forest stretch, a dozen goblins burst from the bushes at the rear, bypassing Walker and rushing straight for the fox beastfolk cages. One was rank 1, wearing mismatched armor and swinging a warhammer. Walker engaged the rank 1 goblin personally and ended it in seconds, a few precise blocks, and 1 clean throat slash. Meanwhile, I fired 3 instant wind blades to support the guards fighting the mob. Quick and clean. 1 guard got bitten, no serious injuries. Standard cleanup. I looted the rank 1 goblin for gold coins, dozens of silver, some coppers. Walker told me the spoils were mine by contract. This was a test of character. I made a show of pocketing exactly 1 gold coin, then tossed the entire rest of the bag to Walker. I'll take what's fair. You distribute the rest. Walker's stone face softened slightly. A mercenary who voluntarily gave up 3 gold coins? That was rare. He logged the gold for the Lord's accounts and split the silver and copper among the guards on the spot. Morale in the caravan jumped immediately. Assets, 11 gold, for silver, 86 copper, and a reputation for being generous, worth far more than 3 gold in the long run. That evening by the campfire, Walker opened up to me over roasted meat. He explained that Griffin Province was actually the safest region, during summer, at least. The real threats came in winter, when western beastfolk raided for food and northern beastmen pushed south. Then he dropped a bomb. The Empire stationed a rank 7 guardian and 2 rank 6 generals at the northern border, with more arriving each winter. The northern beastmen and western pig beastfolk tribes both had rank 7 leaders of their own. I'd thought the Griffin count at rank 5 was the ceiling around here. Turns out the count was small potatoes. The real power was imperial military. Walker also warned me that the inner provinces we'd be passing through, places like Lozan Province, had more bandits. No beastfolk threats meant less military presence, which meant human criminals filled the gap. Goblins don't think. Bandits do. At night the girls refused to let me take watch shifts. Master is the core combat power. He needs sleep. They rotated guard duty among themselves. I kissed Myra's cheek before turning in. She froze solid in front of all the soldiers, brave at home, shy in public. On day 3, we entered Lozan Province. After resupplying at a small town, we continued into dense forest. That's when an arrow screamed out of the trees, aimed straight at me. The obvious leader, wearing a mage robe over armor. Ning's wolf ears had already caught the disturbance. She lunged in front of me, shield up. The arrow buried itself in her enchanted shield, the tip stopping centimeters from her face. "Protect Master," she roared. A tree crashed across the road ahead. Battle cries erupted from both sides of the forest. Bandits, and they'd specifically targeted me first. 18 cards, and you think you can kill me. I raised the Heart of Flame staff and fired a rank 2 flame burst into the tree line where the arrow came from. The explosion ripped through the forest. Screams and cursing followed. It's a rank 2 mage. The intel was wrong, but it was too late to run. Their fighters were already engaged with our guards. Walker glanced back at me. I nodded. I had this side. He charged the opposite flank. Ning with me. Mira, suppressing fire with throwing knives. Ning bulldozed forward with her shield. Every zero-rank bandit in our path went down in 2 or 3 exchanges. 3 arrows came from the trees, all blocked by my mage shield and Ning's shield combined. I blasted fireballs into the forest while shouting spell names at full volume. Silent casting was for teaching demonstrations. On a real battlefield, a mage screaming attack names was the best morale booster for allies and terror weapon against enemies. Then a shadow burst from the side. A massive two-handed greatsword swept toward Ning with terrifying force. She barely got her shield up in time. The impact sent her sliding back 3 steps, arms numb. A bandit in chainmail with a greatsword and longbow emerged. Lozen warrior, a dual-class fighter specializing in two-handed swords and archery. Rank 2. Mia and Mira threw enchanted knives at him from both sides. He didn't even flinch. A warrior's shield deflected everything. I fired 3 wind blades. They hammered his shield, but couldn't break it. Meanwhile, his greatsword crashed into Ning's shield, shattering her rank 1 barrier and sending her stumbling back. A rank 2 with 1-rank lackeys ganging up on me? Shameless, the bandit roared. Can shame buy gold coins? I shouted back. Ning, hold him. Everyone, pile on. 2 more throwing knives from the twins, 3 more wind blades from me. The combined barrage finally cracked his shield. In the split second, he raised his sword to block the remaining knives. Ning found the gap. Her enchanted blade punched through his chainmail links and into his kidney. He screamed, his guard dropped, and the 4 of us turned him into a pincushion. Walker finished off the rank 1 sub-leader on the other side. Without commanders, the remaining bandits fell quickly. Walker identified the dead rank 2 as a deserter from Lozen Province's military. Lozen warrior, class that combined greatsword mastery with devastating archery. He warned me to stay alert. Not all bandits would be greedy enough to avoid using arrows near valuable cargo. Casualties were light. 1 guard seriously wounded, 3 lightly. We'd been lucky my flame burst scared them off their bows early. The loot was excellent. 11 gold, 23 silver, 70 copper, plus weapons and armor. I took 4 gold as my share, gave Walker and his 2 lieutenants 1 each, set aside 1 for the wounded soldier, and left the rest for Walker to distribute. Generous, but calculated. Every coin I gave away bought loyalty worth 10 times more. Walker reciprocated by awarding me all personal loot from enemies I'd killed. The Lozen warrior's chainmail, rank 1 longbow, and rank 1 greatsword alone were worth about 3 gold. I stripped the chainmail off the corpse and layered it over my own armor. Fashion was irrelevant when survival was at stake. My outfit was now absurd. Mage robe, leather armor, chainmail, a rank 3 staff, a greatsword on my back, a steel sword at my hip, and a shield in hand. I looked like a walking armory. We reached Lozen Province's capital days later. I sold the extra weapons for over a gold. The city was rough, heavy fortifications, warriors everywhere carrying longbows and great swords. But beneath the surface, poverty was worse than anywhere I'd seen. The relief station at the gates served a slop of leftover bread and vegetable scraps that looked like pig feed. Taxes were nominally 30%, but with cleaning tax, land tax, management tax, and gate tax stacked on top, people were actually losing nearly half their income. The rest of the journey brought a few more skirmishes, small goblin groups, and 1 pathetic bandit gang, all rank 1 at best. Easy pickings that added another 2 gold 73 silver to my funds. Total assets, around 18 gold, 92 silver. The MAGE adventure team was building both wealth and experience with every mile. We finally reached Loden, the Western Province capital. It was bigger than Griffin City. Walker explained that the western border faced elves, but decades ago the elves had a civil war. Some elders defected and became dark elves. Now the elves were too busy fighting each other to bother humans. So the West had enjoyed peace for years and grew more prosperous than our northern frontier. At the giant tree tavern, everyone relaxed. Walker bought me a drink and thanked me for the journey. The soldiers had warmed up to us completely. My generous loot sharing had earned genuine loyalty. Even the beast folk prejudice had faded after Mira, and Ning proved themselves in combat alongside the guards. One drunk soldier offered to take me to a brothel, his treat. 3 pairs of eyes, cat, and wolf, instantly locked onto him with murderous intent. Mia and Mira puffed up like angry cats. Ning's ears went flat, and her silver eyes turned predatory. They'd all been deprived for nearly 2 weeks on the road. A smarter soldier smacked the first one's head and apologized. Lady Ning, Lady Mia, Lady Mira, please excuse this idiot. He grinned. With 3 beautiful wives like you, why would Lord Leo need anyone else? The word wives hit all 3 girls like lightning. Mia went dizzy with happiness. Myra's anger evaporated into blushing. Ning's tail started spinning like a helicopter rotor. I told the soldiers to go enjoy themselves and represent Eagle Territory's vigor at the local establishments. I was going upstairs with my maids. I got us a big room, 2 roast chickens, 4 glasses of champagne. Only 5 silver in this cheaper province. Behind a locked door, I toasted our team. Congratulations, first expedition, halfway done. Then I asked what rewards they wanted. Mia blushed and whispered, can the reward be? You. Myra's hand shot up. Me too. Ning looked at both of them, turned red, and quietly raised her hand. You asked for it, I grinned. Eat first. Then, story time. I spent the evening telling them elaborate tales, the kind that involved demonstrations and audience participation. By morning, all 3 girls unanimously agreed they preferred a quieter lifestyle going forward. Mira declared she felt old. Mia said she needed time to digest. Ning just nodded weakly. I woke up with Mia and Ning kissing my cheeks while Mira sat on my chest, poking me awake with boundless energy despite her complaints. Some things never change. Assets: 18 gold, 87 silver, 86 copper. 3 days of rest in Loden before the return journey. Mira suggested buying an elf slave. I told her even the cheapest elf would cost 100 times her price. Elves were practically immortal, could communicate with trees, and their queen was rank 8. Catching one was near suicidal. That triggered sad memories. Mira and Mia had been captured while picking berries in a forest. Ning was grabbed while herding sheep. I pulled all 3 close and promised I'd protect them from now on. Mia brightened the mood. If we hadn't been caught, we'd never have met Master. The others agreed. Life with me was the happiest they'd known. We explored Loden together. The city was calmer than Lozan province despite being a border territory. Walker had been right. The Elves' civil war meant decades of peace here, allowing steady development. Meanwhile, inland provinces like Lozan had no external enemies, so their lords squeezed citizens instead. I dropped off damaged armor and weapons at a blacksmith for repair and restocked throwing knives. 15 silver total. Then came the real treat, the finest clothing shop in Loden. Time for a makeover. An hour later, the 3 of them emerged in elegant elven-style dresses with Roman sandals, silver ankle chains, and matching jewelry. Each one was stunning in her own way. Ning wore her black hair flowing free with a silver olive branch headpiece. Combined with her wolf ears and tail, she looked like a goddess caught between holiness and wildness. Mia's hair had grown to shoulder length. She tucked one side behind her ear with a white flower pin. Quiet and graceful, like a forest fairy. Mira had her white hair in twin tails with butterfly ribbons. Flashing her little thong with that mischievous grin in the delicate dress, she was a troublemaker angel. I bought everything in duplicate, plus new clothes for myself, 9 pairs of elven-style lace stockings, and gifts for Aaliyah and Jessica back home. Total, 2 gold, 60 silver. Mia worried about the spending. Ning said it could buy dozens of sheep. Mira clutched her backside and muttered that I must be in the mood tonight again. Then all 3 suggested I buy another team member. Mia said they didn't mind. Ning blushed and explained that in her tribe, a rank 1 warrior with 4 wives was normal. It was a sign of strength. Well, if they were all in agreement. After lunch, half a roast lamb, inspired by Ning's appetite, I took my 3 elegantly dressed, noble ladies to Loden's slave market. On the way, I spotted our merchant caravan doing business with a noble steward. The Eagle Territory goods were clearly selling well. Assets: 16 gold, 7 silver, 56 copper. Time to go shopping for the team's newest member. No elves anywhere. A merchant explained that selling elves was forbidden in the western province, too close to elven territory. If elf scouts found out, they'd burn the whole market and spark a border war. Elves were only traded secretly in the central or eastern provinces. But the West had its own specialties, snake beast folk and centaurs, captured from beyond the western mountains. The snake girls were beautiful from the waist up, but their lower halves were thick, scaled serpent tails. I admired the courage of the legendary Su Xian, but I personally couldn't handle it. The centaurs were more interesting, human upper body, horse lower body. The merchant said some nobles preferred riding centaurs over regular horses for the status symbol, and all centaurs were natural-born warriors. Then the merchant mentioned something crucial. Both snake beast folk and centaurs could learn a racial talent at rank 1 called shapeshift, temporarily transforming their lower halves into human-like legs. I looked at Mia for confirmation. She blushed and nodded. Myra's traits showed she was already calculating something mischievous. I scanned every snake girl with appraisal. Pretty faces everywhere, but no useful combat talents. All R cards at best. Then I moved to the centaur section. In a corner cage, I found her, a brown-haired centaur girl lying against the bars, looking completely hopeless. She had a sporty, slightly tomboyish beauty with large expressive eyes. She reminded me of a college track and field athlete from my old life. Her traits lit up my system: natural warrior talent and high physical potential, plus a bonus tag for exceptional speed. Combat ready with proper training. I started the negotiation dance. Asked about prices, snake girls were 5 gold, centaurs 9 gold. I pretended to lean toward a snake girl, complaining that centaurs were impractical since I rode a griffin anyway. The merchant's eyes widened. He assumed I was some noble's son, maybe connected to the Griffin family. His attitude became even more servile. I worked him down by mentioning centaurs eat twice as much as snakes, that I was getting married soon to a count's daughter who didn't approve of too many slaves, and that I'd just go buy a snake girl from the competitor next door if the price wasn't right. 8 gold. Final offer, my lord. Deal. I signed the slave contract, got the collar keys, and walked away with my 4th team member, Sophia the centaur. Assets: 8 gold, 7 silver, 56 copper. Half my money gone on one purchase, but a frontline warrior with top-tier physical talents was exactly what the MAGE adventure team needed. Walking back with my new purchase, I stared at my coin purse and had an existential crisis. I'd been earning money constantly, yet my savings had never stayed above double digits. Every time gold came in, it flew right back out. Mia squeezed my hand. "We're all yours, master. We just need food." She tactfully avoided mentioning that the biggest expense, 8 gold, was clip-clopping right behind us. I made a decision on the spot. "Mia, you're promoted from head made to chief financial officer. All household spending goes through you from now on." Everyone applauded, including Sophia the centaur, who clearly had no idea what was happening but clapped along. Myra's face fell. "If Big Sis controls the money, no more good food?" She muttered about me being generous and Mia being stingy. I promised to create proper household rules, daily budgets, meal allowances, performance bonuses. The Springer family code. Nobody would go hungry. I bought Sophia 2 elven-style dresses and tops. No pants needed for the lower half, obviously. No shoes or stockings either. She seemed easygoing, much less hostile than Ning had been. Almost simple-minded. "Do you like meat?" I asked. "I prefer vegetables, but I'll eat anything. Even grass if needed," she answered eagerly. I was relieved. Vegetables were cheaper than meat. Then evening came, and disaster struck. Sophia couldn't fit through the inn's door. Her horse body was too large for any room. I had to rent a section of the stable for 20 coppers. And then I discovered the true horror: Sophia's appetite. I gave her 5 white breads and a jar of jam as a welcome meal. She demolished them and looked at me with hungry eyes. I kept bringing more. She cried while eating, "It's so good. Please hit me so I feel less guilty," and couldn't stop. She ate her 7th bread, 8th, 9th. At some point she panicked and dropped to her front knees. "Master, please don't return me. I'll eat less. I'll eat whatever you say, even if it's absolutely not. I bought you to be a warrior, not a garbage disposal." Final count: 11 white breads and an entire jar of jam. The Springer family's greatest glutton, title transferred instantly from Ning to Sophia. Mia asked quietly if someone should guard Sophia at the stable overnight. The real question was whether our food budget could survive this horse girl. Assets: 7 gold, 56 silver. I was starting to understand why centaur slaves were discounted. I assigned Ning as Sophia's mentor. Teach her to read, train her as a warrior, and teach her archery with that rank 1 longbow I captured. She's your apprentice now. Do well, and there's a reward. For motivation, for white breads per meal as baseline, 2 or 3 extra for good training. Without food incentive, I don't think she'll move. Sophia, still licking the empty jam jar in the stable, immediately saluted Ning with some gesture she'd invented. Lady Ning, I'll eat anything you tell me to. Even, nobody's eating that. Just rest. I dragged the others away. Back in the tavern, the soldiers were all back from their night of fun. When they spotted me, the teasing started instantly about my new mount. I played along perfectly, slouching down with an expression of total financial devastation. 7 gold coins. Gone. All because little Leo made decisions for big Leo. I held up 7 fingers dramatically. I'm broke. Worse than broke. I guarantee I'm poorer than Walker and every other officer on this trip. The soldiers howled with laughter. I'd reinforced my lovable pervert who spends all his money on women image perfectly. Even Walker cracked a rare smile. I asked Walker if he wasn't going to enjoy the town. He said he had a son trying to qualify for the Imperial Eagle Knights. The tuition alone was bankrupting him. Plus, he needed to save for the kid's wedding. I told him his son would definitely become a baron someday. Then I shifted to entertainment mode. New story tonight. The real version of Zichuan Xiao. Not that fairy tale you've all heard. The soldiers booed at first. They knew the sanitized version. But when I revealed the dark truth, the eldest brother rebels, accidentally kills the second brother, the third brother defeats the first and becomes king, then marries both a princess and an enemy kingdom's female marshal. They were hooked. Brothers killing brothers, love triangles, power struggles. Perfect drinking material. The soldiers argued about which character was best until late into the night. When they tried to pay me in silver, I pushed the coins back. I only took 1 copper from each table. I'm not greedy. Just a token. This small gesture earned more respect than any amount of loot sharing could. I even made Walker pay double. 2 coppers. Why 2? He joked. You don't have extra ears. But he paid with a smile and complimented my storytelling. Thanks. Storytelling is how I got my start in this world, I told him. And it was true.